Me?
Hey Alexa, stop music.
Her phone's off there.
It wants you to close all your other windows. It's like, but yeah, it's going.
Okay, so you should grab a seat. I'm wondering about the lighting.
I think we can work with it. I think it looks okay for now.
Right. For now. Okay. All right. So we're gonna give this a shot. We're gonna see how this is gonna work. Okay. All right.
Now it's time to act like everything went perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or no technical difficulties.
Everything went great.
Everything has been going great. I am not sweating. That's not what's happening. All right, so yeah, just want to say welcome to the Woke Not Broke podcast, and we're actually doing coupled conversations. So a brief backstory is we were like, man, we need to connect with other couples because it's hard to connect with couples given the pandemic, right? And then we go, let's have an event and invite all the couples. So we invite all these couples. Why are you already laughing? You already know. You already know. Oh my gosh. So we invited all the couples that we could think of. Hey, check it out. Boom, boom, boom. We sent out the invite in December, and it wasn't until February. So we were like, and people were like, oh yeah, like, thanks for giving us time. Like, I need to get a babysitter.
So out of all the how many couples actually showed up?
The couple whose place was hosting it.
Oh,
Nice.
all right.
They didn't really have a choice, right?
Right. They were
They
like,
had to be there because they're hosting, right?
Listen, we're one or two gathered. Couples can argue. No, I'm just joking.
After that.
Right.
So we're not in the car. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good conversation.
Right.
We both gonna leave here happy.
Right.
oh gosh.
It's real. So I figure, okay, let's start with one couple at a time, and we can slowly start building towards not only having an event in which more people would be interested in coming, but also connecting with other folks who have similar experiences and desires, just to connect and understand more about how other couples do their thing, have been doing their thing, surviving as a couple, and so forth, because it's not a game. It's
It's a full-time job.
That's how
Right.
they get you with the wedding. It's all joyful, y'all
Right.
dancing, getting drunk.
Right.
I tell people, do you want the wedding or do you want the marriage? Because understand, the wedding is the setup. No, I'm joking.
You're right.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of graduation, right? You're super
Mhm.
happy. You think,
Oh,
I done
man.
it, I did it, I finished, I know what I came here to do. And then everybody else that knows more go, oh no, you just getting ready for the real world.
Right.
exactly.
So-
Exactly.
Yeah, you just getting ready for
Yeah.
the student loans.
Right. Exactly. You know they're about to kick in, right? You know?
Oh man.
Oh, it's so real. It's so real. And so because of the pandemic, and I want to feel like because of some of the work that we've done, I feel like it's only made it a little bit more isolating, which is interesting and nothing that we expected to have happen. The more that we began to like work through some of the issues and understand more about ourselves, our relationship, the more it was like, what? Like, this is crazy. Never thought about it like this. Never really ran into this issue. I wish I could talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but nobody wants to talk about these things because we don't really talk about them.
Yeah, I found myself in that same situation where their emotions I had
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally, the way I was raised, you don't really show a lot of emotions. You just internalize it and keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
But these issues were bothering me, and I didn't think I could trust. Trust not a good word. I didn't think the people in my circle that I will go to for every other situation would really know how to guide me through certain things.
Right.
So I didn't feel comfortable even bringing it up.
Right.
I kind of assumed what the response would be, which is just suck it up and
Right.
get through it.
Right. Which is real. And it's I think as men in particular, a lot of us. I mean, there's a whole lot into that, but there's definitely a part of our understanding of relationships where we say, man, like, that's just what it is, you know? So like, yeah, just suck it up. Like, yeah, man, you got drinks, you want another one? Like, that's just what it is. And so wanting to push through that, get past that is its own endeavor, but then wanting to connect with other folks who have also said we're going to push past that and not just bottle up all the emotions, again, puts us in a place where it goes, man, I don't know who I can relate to, who wants to talk about it. We talk about, other folks that we know that are coupled and so forth. And we're like, man, I wonder how they're doing. And we just got to wait until maybe they want to talk about it.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is when you become married, you start off with this idea of perfection.
Yes.
And I know as a wife, it is our duty to maintain that perfection of our home. And so when it comes to opening up about issues, especially people who are close to us, we think like, okay, well, the next time you come into my space, you know all my problems, and you're going to be judging me from that point of view. So as women, where men just say, we just shut down, you want a beer, women are like, I have to maintain this facade because it's not just me, it's my whole family, and I don't want to talk bad about my husband, I don't want to talk bad about my kids. Inside, we're like, I'm about to take everybody out.
Right.
As soon as this door closes.
Right.
So yeah, it is that privacy, and I love this space because it's pulling back that layer and showing what it like really means to feel married and be married. So yeah, that's we're ready for the conversation. We're enjoying this already.
That's what's up. So one thing that I wanted to bring up, I feel like I did ask some questions in advance, and so just to kind of prepare ourselves for the conversation. But let's do that. When did you guys get married? How long have you been married? I did listen to some podcasts, so I have some ideas already. But I'm like, yeah. So like, when did that start? I heard about how you guys met, but you guys can just let them know.
Okay, you wanna?
Yeah, why don't you tell them how long we've been married? That was
He's like,
kind of a
I'm
set
not about to
question.
get
Right.
myself in trouble. So technically, Ken and I tried to elope long before that, ended up in a debacle. But so we say on paper, legal paper, we've been married. We're going into 10 years. Almost 10 years. But technically, we count the elopement. We've been married for, our daughter's 13, so almost 14 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Word.
We've been together 16? Yeah, about 16 years.
Right.
That's quite a while.
Right. And that's also what's amazing too, is because I know it's one thing to know married couples who are older, but it's another thing to actually connect with older couples that have been doing it for longer. And honestly, I know that you guys aren't like,
Not older couples. Just
Yeah.
couples who are married.
I don't mind being
Exactly.
I'm like, hold on, let's-
It is.
Don't
It
let
is.
my ears, my knees tell me I'm old. My back tell me I'm old. So.
I don't mind at all. I don't mind.
I hear it. That's real. But honestly, because we've been together it'll be 4 years in May, and so we'll be married for 2 years in June, and wanting to connect with other folks to get, hey, like, let me know, like, what are we about to experience? What are we about to run into? Some of the things.
It gets quieter once you get married. Like the advice, like once you're married and like other married couples, I just feel like everyone's just like, all right, like we made it, and like now everything's private. Like it's like, wait, where did everyone go?
What is like that Dave Arnold, what's his name? Comedian?
David Arnold. He's a comedian that we like, and we saw him at Tommy T's probably 3 months ago now, I guess. And he has a saying like, "We just making it."
Right.
We making it. Right. It's, obviously, it's funnier than that. He does.
Right.
A lot of his content, and that's kind of what drew me and Dominique to him. It's like he talks about being married and raising a family, and how difficult it is. How it's always changing, and sometimes you're just trying to make it through. Right. So it's not perfect, but you made it through another day.
Right.
And redefining what making it means in your relationship, because it's easy to get caught up in what making it means in other people's relationship, and then holding yourself to that fire, and then you always feel like, oh, we're failing, but you have no idea like their stuff is in complete shambles, right? And so, but for you guys to be so early within your marriage and your relationship to be seeking that advice, that's so powerful. That is powerful right there.
We hear that. And honestly, it comes from a whole lot of failed relationships. You know, my parents were divorced, or they separated when I was in junior high school. So like right when I started liking girls, it was like, this is gonna hurt. I'm like, what's gonna happen? Wait. And so, you know, it came from, a lot of relationships where I said, man, like, I think that we have the stuff. And whether it's her, whether it's me thinking it's her, but it's really me, it not working, and just really coming from that place of like, I can't come at this anymore thinking I get it, thinking I know, thinking I understand. And so I think that, if you will, spirit of how we've been moving has just been like, hey, like, let's keep asking questions and like trying to figure this out. So I kind of invited folks into the mix pretty early on, just thinking like, dude, like, for instance, I had a life coach that I was working with when we met, and I was like, dude, like, I don't know if we're gonna make it. Like, I need all your help, like, because like I just met a girl, you know what I mean? I just met a girl, we're dating, like, dude, like, I have about 6 months before I do something that doesn't allow this to keep going. So,
like self-sabotage.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, looking at it, and this is just another form of the self-sabotage, right? But just looking at her and going like, oh, like, I don't think you're the one because you just did this or you didn't do that, and the standards that I'm setting for her to be a certain person can be, so either it's unattainable or it's just difficult to maintain that through the ups and downs of life, that I'm like, dude, like, I'm probably gonna either like push her away, or she's gonna be like, yep, I now I know who you are, we're done.
Right. Like, I'm gonna spare her, so I'll leave. So stuff
like that. Yeah. And so that has, again, there's just been a way that we've moved. And so with that being said, it's like, we watched some podcasts, listened to them, read some books. And so there's a lot out there, but a lot of it can also be really helpful too.
Yeah, I think there is information that's coming out now, but I think that, and I won't say, but I think it's through kind of self-discovery. There's not many avenues for African American couples to relate to. So there's literature out there. A lot of the literature doesn't look like us, doesn't speak our language.
So you can't relate to some of the analogies, examples. So for me, when I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, please go.
What she said, when we start reading some of these books on relationship, I'm looking at these couples like, I don't relate to any of this stuff.
Yeah. Right.
This is not where I come from, not my community. So does this advice really apply to me? Because we're talking about a whole different group of people.
Yeah. Right. That's real.
That was something I came across also. A lot of the relationship books, like, I felt like there was good material in there. Like, John Gottman was like a author we read a lot. Even like some of the inner, like, self-healing that I was working on, a lot of those books were written by white women, and the audience was majority white. And so it was just like, there's got to be places where there are like women of color, couples of color who are like coming together. And so that's kind of what set us on this, like, maybe there are, and then we're like, there aren't. I think we have to like create it and like, seek it.
Exactly.
Very intentionally. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's dive in with the word trauma. So the reality is that I feel like we constructed our relationship on like what was comfortable for each other, and things were going and continue to go. We have some hiccups here, hiccups there. and we always try to address things on the surface level, right? Like, so what the issue was, okay, like let's fix that, right? And like, okay, cool. Well, we're still having an issue. Okay, let's try to fix the other thing right beneath that. Like, okay, so like let's just stay there. And then I think in time it just began to get more and more clear, like, you guys have to get to the root of this. And so let's ask some of those questions and really start to dive into that. So with that being said, what is one thing that you guys know that you had to face, within your history in order to be present, in order for us to succeed in the present relationship?
Wow, that's a pretty good question.
Take it away.
Right.
Like sipping water.
Right.
I can give it a shot. Kind of what you talk about self-sabotage. I had a problem doing that in previous relationships. And when it came to a relationship with my wife, we kept having problems over, I guess you could say, I wanted to control certain aspects on the emotional side. And I did that because it kept me safe. Because I had some insecurities about, like, abandonment, right? That stemmed from issues in my past, right?
Right.
I feel like if I can control the amount of emotion that I let out, or the way the emotions played out, then I could also I could prevent myself from being hurt. But in turn, I was damaging my wife and my children, and I didn't realize it. I just knew if I controlled the emotional, I guess, range, then I could keep myself safe.
Right.
It was very selfish, I guess. But for me, it was like survival because
Yeah.
I had that wall up, and that's what kept me safe.
Right.
Internally, right? Because I didn't know how to address those issues of abandonment and like the person really loved me. Is this for real? You know what I mean? So it got pretty deep. I didn't really learn how to resolve it until I did go to therapy and try to figure out like some of the reasons why I kept sabotaging certain situations. So that's something that I had to address.
Right.
And although I identified that that's a problem, I still have to talk to myself like, okay, we're not gonna backslide now. Like, you don't have to create these problems that don't really exist.
Right.
So it's like it's not an everyday struggle, but it's something I have to be mindful of.
Right. No doubt. And so one thing that that brings up is, for me, is the question around as men, like how we have to move in order to survive what we experience. And right, we don't talk about a lot of stuff, right? We can't talk about a lot of stuff. If you express emotion, it's oftentimes used against you. You know what I mean? It's made fun of if it's in the middle of a game, right? If they could see like it's hurting you, then they're like, perfect, right? Like this is our opportunity to like capitalize on the fact that he's expressing some type of emotion. And so I feel like that doesn't set us up for success in our relationships, but it does set us up for success in sometimes at work, right? Because you got to have your game face on at work, in order to do what you have to do to, what they call, it's just it's business, so it's not about like taking it personal, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think that type of, if you will, culture doesn't help us in our relationships, but it does in the outside. And so we have to learn how to maneuver in both spaces. Be emotional at home somehow, while when you're outside, get ready to put the armor back on and so forth.
Absolutely. I often tell Ken that there's two versions of him. The one that I get at home, and then the one that he goes out into the world and deals with everything that is, the world. And I think it's important. One of the things that I love about what Ken did, and I didn't grasp this concept, so I guess this goes back into my own trauma and how I dealt with it in our relationship. We are two people who can emotionally withdraw to face the bigger picture. And so if he was emotionally withdrawing, I was emotionally withdrawing, but we were killing it. Like, we're handling it. Like, we're handling
Still functioning.
Yeah. Like if you were to look at us, you'd be like, oh, they're on their P's and Q's. They got everything going. But we were dying inside emotionally. Right. And so when Ken did start, before he even went to therapy, because I think it hit him the hardest, during a certain time, he would try to give me tidbits of emotion to try to pull me out. Like, what the heck? Well, you know, I don't want to cuss. Like, what's wrong with you?
It's all good.
Like, why are you acting like that?
Yeah.
Why do you want to cuddle? Why do you want to, like, we don't do this. And so I had to come out of my own need to control, and where Ken controlled emotionally, I controlled like the pieces on the chessboard. So I moved him here, I moved my girls here, I moved this here, and when I felt out of control, it'd be like, okay, now I'm just gonna rage until everybody does what I want them to do. And that was my trauma, and then it just forced Ken to, you know, sink back in, like, okay, she's crazy.
Right.
Yeah,
That's-
relatable.
Yeah, all I'm thinking, right. Well, you know, you mentioned that right now. You also mentioned it in your podcast that you directed me to. What is it? Running is cheaper than therapy. I was dying.
With Dr. Wee Brown.
Right. Oh man, that was some good stuff. But you mentioned that, and I felt like that image, if you will, I feel like that's so common. Like, I feel like that's normal. It's like, man, like, she goes off and everybody goes like, oh shoot, like, we did it, and she's the one that pulls it all together and that whole thing. And now we're and if you will, like, you feel like you had to do it, and everybody's kind of like accepted that you had to do it, and it happened, and we all go to our rooms and we all shut up for the rest of the night, right? And then
But you know what? The thing about that was one of the moment that I can think of off the top of my head that told me something was wrong with that behavior and I needed to address it. I had been through a rage. I was telling the girls what they didn't do, my son what he didn't do, the house was not the way that I wanted it, and everyone was silent, just listening to me do this. And I walk into the room and Ken is in the bed and he goes, do you realize that you are scaring the entire house? Everyone, down to the dogs, are scared of you right now. And I was like, what do you mean, were you scared of me? I'm 5'4". 5'4".
Right.
What do you mean you're scared of me? But in that moment, I've never heard my husband say he's scared of anything. I've never heard my husband express that he was, you know, feeling traumatized or whatever. And so to actually acknowledge it and go, oh, that's not okay. I can't do that.
Right.
And so that was a powerful moment that sticks with me, that like the trajectory of the change. Yeah.
Right.
But it takes time. It takes time.
For real.
Yeah.
It does, and so, you know, going back to being vulnerable, you know, there's a certain balance, right? So you mentioned putting on a coat of armor, or the way we interact with other men, or, you know, in the workplace. You know, that might be necessary there, but when you marry someone, it's a different ballgame, right? So
Right.
you should be able to let your guard down with your spouse, right? No one else in this world, but at least your spouse, because that's your partner in life. So I'm not saying you have to go out and work and be, you know, emotional and all that stuff, but when you come home to your spouse and your family, that's when you should be able to let your guard down, because one of the things I learned is our batteries get low as men, right? Because you said when we go out and we interact, we're expected to conduct ourselves in a certain way, right? We don't show emotion, but we internalize all these things. And if you can't express that somewhere, and you never get a chance to go, let me get this off my chest so I can recharge and go out and do it all over again, it will kill you.
Right.
Or it will drive you to terrorize your own family.
Right.
Because it has to go somewhere.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's real. And it makes me even think about how the outburst could have looked if it was you. You know what I mean? And the type of fear that could inspire, right? Like, oh man, like you were just saying, I'm just 5'4", but what if you weren't, right? What if you were 6, ... And they're like, dude, like dad's losing it, like, oh shoot, like that's a whole other level of inspiring fear. And we went through that, not, I would say, most recently, that wasn't kind of like what we were going through. But there was a time where we did have this argument. Shout out to Instagram for causing a lot of arguments. Social media all day, like causing arguments all the time. And so we were having this argument, and she slammed the door. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, that was like, okay, we're 7, right? We're back at the house. Like, my mind just went completely back there, and I was like, oh, this is bad. But I'm like, there is actually a 7-year-old in the room, like in the house. Maybe you don't know, right? But like you just did a thing that is going to reverberate. You know what I mean? Like it's not just the argument we're having right now. It's not just the topic of conversation we're having right now. It is those type of memories that are going to be, you know, triggered when certain things happen, or if he finds himself so upset one day that he wants to slam a door and so forth. What can he possibly again awaken in his partner and so forth? And so those are real things, and it's there's a part of me that wants to just like feel that for a second, because I know again, to be the child in that situation, what it feels like when they are arguing and she does explode or he explodes or something like that, but also when we're having an issue, and how it just also inspired like, oh my gosh, like not even fear from the standpoint of, okay, like I have to run, but like what happens if we engage this energy, right? What happens if I go in that other room, right? So he was in the other room like, dude, like, I don't know, we gotta talk. When you come in here, we'll talk. But like, if I go in there like, yo, like you need to calm down. Is it about to go down?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And what will that look like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, even around what I was seeing in my son, and like I'm repeating patterns from my parents that I didn't want to repeat, but nonetheless they're happening. And what I'm one of the concerns was also like the caretaking that the child takes on. Like that was something I did. Like you want to emotionally caretake your like parents, because you go, they're emotionally labile. Like they could be loving and then they could just be upset about something, and so you're like walking on eggshells. I don't want, because I know how that feels as a child in a household with parents whose expectations are way up here, and it's like, if things weren't a certain way, they were going off. And then what that did to me as a kid, just being like hyper aware of like facial expressions, body language, just like not being able to relax, because it's like I need to read for safety, for like it's like survival. Like I need to be able to read people and then adjust, my behavior, and so it's like, oh man, I don't want to pass that on to him, because, I'm struggling with it still. And so,
I think in this sense, and I know that we're talking about our traumas, and what I want to make clear is that as parents coming into something, I know they say there's no blueprint, right? But also, if you were never parent correctly, it's just like with marriage. If you never seen positive images of marriages, you then go in and think you know something and have no idea. So how are you expected to grasp, right? Unless you start digging, unless you start unpacking. And that's a painful experience in itself. And then to do it together in a space where you may not be exactly vulnerable with your partner yet. I know that we would be talking, and this is my back note of conversations. We all have a little silent. Hopefully we all do.
I think everybody got it right.
Voices, right, everyone? We got voices.
Before I say this, let me be clear. But Ken and I would be having conversations, and they would go deep, and he would be talking about something from his childhood, and I would have these internal battles like, do I share mine? Why would I want to share that? Why is he sharing his? Like, and so it's that internal fight to be vulnerable when you've never learned what. Number one, I didn't know what vulnerability looked like or meant. So then you think about your kids, and it's it's like that genetic splicing. You're gonna do things that are gonna encode them, and it's gonna happen, good or bad. But as long as you're like working, there's always room to change it. That's the part that we have to remember.
Right. Well, one thing that he mentioned is or actually, you said that you guys both were good at. If you will, shutting down, just pushing through and doing that. With that being said, was there a part of you that struggled with that idea? Because my mind goes, what I've been struggling with is the fact that I feel like women are supposed to be the ones that are like, oh, like we can talk about our feelings, we can
He was like,
she's laughing already.
yeah, the men
But-
Dominique.
Right.
I don't know when you get married, Dominique, I think that's right. I don't think they,
Yeah.
that part of water, I don't think they pour that in there.
Wait, hold up. Not for Dominique. Not for Dominique.
No. Attitude.
Right. Right. A lot.
Attitude, defensiveness.
Yes.
Oh man, the D word. Oh man, we're gonna get into it today. So yeah. With that being said, right, like, and we'll talk about the nice guy stuff in a minute too. But I felt like what I was being geared towards, there was all the hip hop, there's all the music videos, there's all the movies and stuff that basically said, guys really struggle with being emotional, being in touch with their emotions and so forth. But women are like, nah, right? And so we get into a relationship, and she's, she likes cuddling. I'm like, okay, right? And she affectionate, okay, so you got emotions, okay, cool. And slowly but surely it was like, she ain't saying nothing in these
That's
conversations.
the thing. I am very affectionate, and I like, that's like my love language.
Right.
But like anything, that's me being vulnerable. That's like what I consider being vulnerable. Like the fact that I want to like hold your hand, like that's a big deal. But like I was like, and that's good job, you're doing so good, Dominique. You're like holding hands and cuddling and like
Right.
close, and I was like, and that's what you get.
That's the whole thing.
Here's what I will say.
I get it.
I think,
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I think as women we have to take accountability in the idea that we know men want us to be emotionally supportive to them. And so we manipulate you guys in the beginning in a lot of ways. We present in a lot of ways these attributes about ourselves that we see in like the fairy tale idea to create your next mother, not your spouse. So you fall in love with us mothering you. And we give it to you.
Right.
And then when we seal the deal, we're
Right.
like, hello,
Right.
this is the real me.
Right.
I'm
not taking care of nobody.
I'm glad that's finally on record.
And no,
Right.
Somebody said it. They manipulate us.
I felt so manipulated.
I don't know why she's acting.
And then
like,
if I tell her she changed,
Yeah.
that's a fight.
Right, I can't say that part.
why you acting like that to me? But I also think that our things shift for us as women as we become mothers. Our emotional, like if you imagine as a woman, when you have children, your children are pulling on you, touching on you. Your body is not yours anymore. You have to do all of these things, and then when your husband comes, he wants to pull on you. He wants to touch on you. And you're like, sir, I've had enough of the touching and rubbing. I'm trying to hide in the bathroom and eat these fruit snacks. But I do think in the beginning, women, we do have to admit that we give you what we know will get us the ring, what we know will get us the wedding, what we know will get us the,
A commitment.
yeah. And then once we get it, we be like, hello,
Right.
this is really dominating.
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad we're here.
Yeah.
Word. So what I know from, and then you can share too, but like from your experience, what has contributed to you having that, what we would call the armor or whatever that may be, to not be vulnerable, and what was it like starting to take it off?
Right, it's like a transformer. So what contributed to it?
Yeah.
I think learned behavior. So my parents weren't like emotionally available, I would say. So there was no like room to even, like you had mentioned before, like how do I even be vulnerable? I didn't see it around me. My parents were like, we don't care how you're feeling. This is what you're doing. And it's like, oh, hey, so like feelings aren't important. It's just getting things done and doing what's expected of me. And so growing up, and I struggled, I think, even to maintain relationships with other girls growing up and with women as I got older, because I'm like, I have such a hard time accessing that part of me. And that's how women want to connect and bond, and I'm like, I can't, like, it's so hard, and like I'm not really interested, and like it's complicated. So I'll just
I'll be speaking my language right now.
okay. So so you know, it was definitely challenging, and to your point, meeting a man, it's like I know how to do men. Men, I understand, and I know I can.
Because we're so easy.
Certain things, right?
Right.
Women are not. Women are like, you're not sharing with me.
You're not being authentic.
Right.
You're
They're like, we see that. They're like, she's pretty, and like that doesn't matter to women. Like, but guys, it's like, okay, I can share this much, and that's, you know, enough, and I can ask questions. I'm good at asking questions and listening, and so I'll like, that's like what I can give. But yeah, just giving just enough. Now, learning how to be vulnerable, that was therapy. Learning how to identify emotions. He would be like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, mad. How are you? Frustrated, annoyed, I'm pissed. I'm like, you know, naming all of these surface emotions.
Right. And this is when like her mom's like struggling with her health, and I'm like, all you are is mad. Like, I know that there's I know that there's fear, I know there's like uncertainty and confusion and so on and so forth, but it was just like, no, like you didn't do this, and that's all that matters. And I'm like, I know the truth, and we're gonna get to that like maybe by the end of the week or something, but like at some point we have to address the other stuff.
Yeah, and that was frustrating because he was asking me to do something, and it was fair for him to ask me like, what is really going on? How are you feeling? And it would make me angry because I'm like,
again,
I don't know, like I don't even know how to say it. Like, so through therapy, learning to sit with my feelings, there was meditation, there was a lot of just like turning into myself and like being quiet, and the inner child we talked about on our podcast just earlier this week about the inner child, and like talking to my inner child, like talking to myself, you know, and how are you feeling? And it was, oh my gosh, it was rough. I was like, to not feel sadness, you know, fear for so long, and then to like allow yourself to feel it. At a certain point I go like, how much of it was like, I don't know how, and I don't want to, because we do get scared and we do get sad. So it's not like, oh, I just never felt those things. It's like, I don't like feeling those things. So I'm just gonna like push that down here. But to like learn how to access it, and I still feel like I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. Like just last night, I don't know, yesterday, you were like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm sad. And you were like,
oh my God.
oh my God.
I was like, shut the front door. She said the sad. I mean, she never says I'm sad. I'm like,
nothing was going right that day, and so I was like, oh, like I'm annoyed about like so many things, but like what I really am is sad right now. And it's like I could just be like, oh, like nothing's going right, and I'm like annoyed.
Right.
And that's usually what I would say before, but it's like, no, I can go a little deeper now and say, you know, progress.
And for yourself, like your response to those questions, like you feel like it was what you had to do growing up, and then it was you know, just like kept progressing as an adult.
Yeah, so I was on my own when I was 13 years old. Like, and I mean like on my own. At 13, I was emancipated when I was 16.
What?
And I was like out in the world at a very young age. I didn't really have a strong familial parenting home, right? So for me, being able to shut down emotionally was survival, because as a woman, I'm navigating a world where my vulnerability can mean my life.
Right.
My being emotional takes away from my logic and my situational awareness in a space where anything can happen. And so I think for a long time that was an attribute. It was like the thing that kept me alive.
Right.
And so when I met Ken in his field, he was like, oh great, I have someone like me.
Right,
that
right.
I don't have to worry about her emotionally dumping on me.
Right.
And we can just take the world on. And
Right.
I was like, cool. you
Right,
know,
and we
like,
both beast through it.
But
Yeah.
that's what she thought. That
That's
really
what-
wasn't what was going on.
Right, but she was thinking that that's how it's
Yeah.
going to be.
But what I will say is, when I did decide to really tap into why I say I'm mad before I say I'm sad, why I say all these things, and learning how to reparent myself was the scariest thing I could have ever done, because it's one thing to have someone on the outside parenting you because they're trying to guess how you feel. They're trying to guess your experience.
Right,
They're trying
right.
to guess. Can you imagine having an inner conversation and trying to lie to yourself?
Right. Right.
No, that is not what happened.
Right.
And so now you find yourself at
True.
2 a.m. in your kitchen eating a tub of ice cream, crying because you didn't get a 5th birthday party, right?
Right.
Like, you are really, when you decide to do it, you'd be surprised at what comes up,
Yeah.
and you find out what are the triggers, what are the traumas, what are
Right.
the things that uncover and happen. And so, yeah, that was the scary, like, same thing with you, it was the scariest thing I
Yeah.
did to this date, was to learn how to reparent and, like, make my inner child feel safe.
Right.
Because I think we all have it as adults. We still have that inner child, but either we bury it or we don't address it.
Mm-hmm.
And we just be like, oh, I don't see you. But
Right, right.
It's still there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was, I guess, I don't know if I answered your question. Hopefully I did.
No, you did.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Very. Yeah.
I think from my perspective, it was just like a vicious cycle, because I would come home and I could tell something was going on, or maybe I even wanted to share, right? So I'm trying to break the ice, and I come home, oh man, something's wrong with my wife. Let me find out what's going on, and then we'll talk. And then when I can obviously see by reading her body language that something's going on,
Something
I can
else.
just feel it in the air, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, no, nothing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this again, it's something. I know it's something.
Yeah.
Why won't she tell me, right? And then we play like this. It's almost like me harassing, like, babe, come on, just tell me. What's wrong? What's wrong? Come on, tell me.
Yeah.
Is it me? That is right? And then it becomes like, it goes to a place where I didn't want it to go, right? I came out of there because I loved her. I approached her because I loved her, and I wanted to find out what's going on and help work through it. And now we're at odds. If she's not ready to tell me, I know she's not telling me the truth.
Right.
And there's no middle ground, right? And then my feelings are hurt, like, oh, you can't tell me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why aren't you telling me? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yep.
it just it spiraled out of control, and then we agreed to not talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we never will go back and address that. We just bury it until something else came up.
Our favorite line is truce. Like we'll like truce, but the truce was like an emotional cop out. That meant okay, we're gonna like agree to disagree, but we're never coming back to this.
Right,
We're
right.
never talk about this again.
Mhm.
And then now, like when we say truce, we have to make the agreement. Okay, we're calling a truce, but we have to come back.
Right. Right.
I know what Ken's talking about. It was hard for him because of the field that he's in. I went through a depression for like almost 2 years. And it was because we had decided to, put away our business. We were homeschooling. We were doing all of these other things, and I didn't feel like nurtured in a lot of areas. But who am I going to say, like, you're not nurturing me when every day he goes out and I don't know if he's going to come back home because he's in law enforcement. So he has all these stressors. So I'm like, I can't put my stressors and you have your stressors. I better suck it up. And I didn't even have a name like depression. Like, what's depression? That's white people stuff.
Right.
Right? I'm not trying to be mean,
Right.
but
That's
I
how-
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't got so. I'm sorry.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
He's excited. This is the most I've heard him. I'm so proud of today. But
When you gave me the instructions in the
I
car,
am a good
In the
talker.
car, right.
I'm a good
Yeah.
talker.
you're gonna talk, right?
Right.
But I had to address like later on, and go, oh, I was depressed. Oh, this is what was wrong. And so I had to come and like tell Ken, and then he was like depressed, So yeah, that was big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I grew up, you didn't really have time to be depressed. You weren't allowed to be depressed,
Yeah.
right? Things needed to get done.
Yeah.
I can
Right.
honestly say until I became an adult, and really Dominique presented it to me because she went to school and took some courses, right? And she brought these theories and ideas back. I don't know anyone that said, "Hey, I'm doing bad. I'm depressed."
Right. Right.
Male or female,
Right.
right? They
No,
just
that's real.
they was going through something. That was the thing. They going through something, but they gonna be okay. And
Give it to
then
God.
they put on the face and came out and got back to whatever they had to do.
Right. Right. And until, or as long as it was, they were able to do that. Right.
Right.
Some people, again, it's super hard to do that, and or falls apart in other ways and so forth. Yeah, no, that's real. Wow, like I'm super glad that was brought up because yeah, we never know, and then we have our assumptions, and then we talked a little bit. I sent that text about about, man, like, can we talk about blackness and that whole thing? And I think like it keeps coming up because we know that our culture doesn't address a lot of things. We don't, and I would say our culture because meeting Dominique, her dad is from Puerto Rico. Her mom is I think it's Ecuadorian and Mexican.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I'm like recognizing like, well, it's just like different manifestations and different cultures of the same stuff. But yeah, not talking about emotions, not being too emotional, pushing through, getting through certain things. And one of the gifts, if you will, that I felt like I had was that my mom struggled with alcoholism, but she saw recovery in that whole thing. And I was there, not like, actually, the alcoholism part, I didn't really get to experience. It was like to herself, in her room, away from everybody. But the recovery stuff was like, if you will, the rock bottom stuff was like that. I saw that in the recovery stuff. I saw that like very like clear. I was like, 15 and 16. So it all was starting to make sense and so forth. But seeing her pursue help, seeing her, if you will, do work around why, she felt like she needed to do that, why she didn't do certain things growing up and or as an adult even to handle things in a different way was a door that I felt like it was a gift to me in the sense that it was no longer foreign to go, I'm not doing well in this area. You know what I mean? Like we just talked about earlier, like I need help and it's okay to need help versus who needs help. Like nobody ever needed help in my life. It's like, no, like my mom was like, dude, like I need all this help.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right now, again, gifts, and a lot of gifts are wrapped in like a bunch of pain, right? Right? A bunch of gifts wrapped in tears, and right? Saliva, like there you go. Right? And so it was, it was a real thing, but it's great just to hear that we have an idea of how that strength works against us, and it works against our relationship. It works against us being able to understand one another. And I'm sure at some point, Ken, when we're having those conversations with your Dominique, that that you were like, I already know. Like it wasn't like something's going on, but at sometimes you were like, no, like I saw some of the things that made you feel this way, and you just don't want to talk about it. But like I already know. Like I'm just waiting for you to start talking about it because I already know what's going on. And to feel and know that fight is happening where they just like feel like they can't go there. What I experienced, and maybe we can start bringing up some of the nice guy stuff, was feeling like I was trying to, what they say teachers don't do, right? It's like, well, they don't care what you know until they know that you care or something like that, right? And so like maybe like I'll share like what's going on with me so like she could feel more comfortable saying what's going on with her, right? You know what I mean? And I'll be like, baby, like, man, I had this whole thing, this whole situation.
Like, that's nice.
Right, right. Well,
maybe emotionally responsible to make you feel better now.
Right.
So I'm like, I can share these. I'm like, this is scary, right? This is uncomfortable. And yeah, like I get nervous when this happens. I feel like I have to poop when that happens. Like I get nervous. Like I have feelings. What are your feelings? And it just was like, what feelings, right? Like what are you talking about? Like we don't have to get into all that. And I felt like at some point it started to get to a head where it was like, man, like it's becoming clear. And especially clear in one of these arguments that we had last year was that you aren't willing to go somewhere that we have to go, like right now, right? Like I know, listen to the podcast and you talked about the passing of your mom and that whole thing, and I felt like that probably was one of those spaces where it was like we have to do all the stuff that we need to do emotionally to get through this, because if we just try to like push through this, like it's probably going to mess some stuff up. in a way bigger way, then this is already messing us up, right? And so if you can speak to that a little bit of like how processing emotions has helped to be able to deal with life versus the other way around, which we think is we deal with life without processing those
So
things.
processing emotion is it regarding my mom or
Sure. Yeah. If you can.
so I'm still processing honestly.
Right.
You know, I think my mother and I had a unique relationship. My mom had me when she was very young, so we kind of grew up together in a sense. So you know, my mom was always did her best to provide for me and be a good example of a parent. But you know, just like we make mistakes, she made mistakes too, and some of them left a mark. So we had unresolved issues, right? So when my mom was when she fell ill, my mom had brain cancer.
Oh man.
Very, very aggressive. So to put it in perspective, my mom was fine in February she gets the diagnosis, and then she's gone by October.
Wow.
Passes away, right? So everything was moving pretty fast for us.
Right.
So I really didn't get a chance to address certain emotion because I had to be there for my mom, and then you know, things needed to get done. You know, she went from a person who was very articulate, had written books, spoke numerous places, to not being able to formulate a sentence, right? Or being very forgetful, or you know, just she was scared. It's a perfect example. I knew things were turning like a month after her diagnosis when she'd call me and say, "I'm scared. I don't want to be here by myself." Right? So then I had to process that. Like, okay, well, I didn't plan on you living here right now, so I had to figure that out. I had to talk to my wife and go, "Babe, this is what's going on. What do you think about my mom coming to live here?"
Right.
And I throw myself on her mercy. Like, I hope she's okay with this because I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
And I'm the only person she can depend on in the situation. So what am I going to do if my wife's not comfortable with my mom coming to live here? Right? So trying to process all these, I didn't process them, I just compartmentalized them. And I prioritized things I could deal with at that moment. So it was kind of like a whirlwind. I think I began to process it when my mom, towards her last few weeks, she took a pretty big decline. And it was kind of obvious what was going to happen. And I was really thankful for my wife for supporting me, and my family for supporting me, and kind of, in my mind, doing what was honorable, what an honorable son would do for his mother. Right? We created a place where she could be loved as she transitioned, and there was no doubt that she was where she wanted to be when she passed. But you know, it was. I'm still processing it, bro. Like,
Right.
you know, my mom thought it was unfair. You know, she's only 60 years old. She had already beaten cancer once, and it came back. Right? She literally said, "I'm gonna go get my passport. I'm gonna travel the world." Right? And then, literally the next month, they're like, "Well, no, you're not. You got this brain cancer." Right? So, one of the things that helped me through it was the support of my wife. She was strong in areas where I wasn't. Things like bathe my mother. My mother needed to be bathed.
Right.
And I'm a male. I don't want to see my mom naked.
Right.
I still hadn't. You can call it immaturity or whatever you want, but I didn't want to see my mom naked.
I hear that.
Right. I don't want to bathe her private parts.
Right.
And my wife came through like a champ.
Right.
You know, she would take care of it, and when I would try to go figure it out, she'd be like, "Oh, baby, I did it."
Right.
And I was so grateful for that.
Right.
And that made
Right.
me think. I had, like, so as you asked how it correlates to other aspects, I realized I had to give it my all. Right. I got to be vulnerable. I can't hold anything back because it came through for me in one of my darkest hours. Right. I owe it to her. I owe it to my family to do whatever I can to be vulnerable.
Right.
So when I have my own issues about being vulnerable, they no longer matter because of everything we had just gone through.
Right.
So after that, it was pretty easy, honestly. So
That's real. I know you had mentioned in the podcast again, like wanting to, if you will, press through everything. How it wouldn't have helped in that circumstance. You know, that it was necessary to try your best to open up, just to process. those
We're
emotions.
running out of time.
Right. No, my dad's
Oh,
calling,
okay.
and
I was like, no, we got a lot more to talk about.
yeah, no, it's a whole thing right now. But right, but yeah, like, can you also elaborate like how that was for you coming through for him, knowing whether or not it was spoken.
You trying to make me cry?
Right. She's like,
I'm a gangster, no, it's like. And then what happened? No. You know what? For me, when Ken and I were pregnant with Nadia, we ended up in a situation where we moved in with his grandmother to help her. And then his grandfather was diagnosed with cancer. And then his grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. And then his mother was diagnosed with her first round of cancer. And so I took care of his grandfather and I took care of his grandmother in certain senses. But it wasn't as serious as with the last time for his mother. I knew when she was diagnosed that there was nothing that we weren't going to do. And there was no place that I wasn't willing to go with Ken to make sure like his mom was good. So when she did come with us, it's so funny because a couple months prior to that, Ken had a conversation with his father. And his father told him, before anybody knew about her being diagnosed, he said, son, there's going to come a time that you're going to have to take care of your mother. And so I think about that, the foreshadowing of that, and Ken talking about like, I don't know if I can do that because my mom crazy, like my mom, her personality, she was a very eccentric woman, very loving but very eccentric woman. And to see him, like whatever their issue was, to go, yeah, none of that matters. My mom's coming home, she's coming home with me. How could I not? As his wife, as his partner, as his friend, as his confidant, be like, I don't think so.
yeah.
You know? So it just allowed us to, like, there would be nights after everything would be happening and going on where we would just hide out in our closet and we would just talk, like, about things that were happening. And no one was expected to cry or overly share, but it was like, you can tell me you're angry. You can tell me you're mad. You can tell me you're sad. You can tell me you're frustrated. And it's not going to weigh on me. It's not going to be too much for me to bear. I need you to tell me that you're struggling because I'm struggling. And if we wouldn't have done that, and both people would have been like, I got this, no, I got this, I got this.
Right.
We would have separated and broke down emotionally from each other.
Right.
Like we would have, and this is a scary thing, when you can't communicate in your home, you start communicating outside your home.
Right.
And that's even worse.
Yeah.
So we had, I think we just knew, like we couldn't
I think
not
for
do
me,
it.
one pivotal moment was, I think, I came home, my mom was going through it. She was affected cognitively, so sometimes she would behave out of her normal personality, and it wasn't always nice. And I could tell Dominique was frustrated, and I was frustrated, and then we kind of got into a fight over nothing, but we're both frustrated with the situation. And it's like, well, my mom can't help what's going on. We're doing the best we can. We need to really remove ourselves from the situation, like only for an hour, and just decompress with one another. What?
We sat in the Lucky's parking lot.
Yeah, we used to go to the marina. We used to go to the marina.
I also heard closet. We're gonna get back to the closet, but I'm here.
Just any place we could hide out for a moment. And just like, I would let her know how appreciative I was. She'd tell me about some of the things that was going on during the day with my mom. It was just a moment to kind of express ourselves, share some emotion, be vulnerable, and then regroup and go back at it.
Right.
When we didn't have that moment, that frustration and anger was directed towards one another.
Right.
Yeah.
That's real. So it was the closet, like literally.
Yeah, like our closet.
Uh-huh.
Like not even our bed because we were scared that maybe she could hear us, and we would never want her to hear us like say mean things.
Right.
This woman had what do they call it? Sonic hearing.
Oh man, she had.
She had mother hearing, right? So
no,
we closed the door.
She was like, that was
Don't even play. It was
Right.
Like I would be like if I was in my bedroom and I was doing something and she would like call me, and if she would hear me shuffle in the room, she'd be like, I hear you, and I'd be like. So we would literally go into our closet, and we would close the door, and we'd be in there like, so how was your day today? Like whispering that thing out.
Right.
Hiding the Lucky's parking lot.
Right. No, that's real. That's real.
I feel like that was something we are learning through this process of like, it's not the things that are happening. It is the things that are happening around us, and it's not us. Like
Right.
we're so close to each other as a couple that it could so easily be you,
Yeah.
or me, right? And so like we've had quite like the past month ourselves like this past month, and just like the other night he's like, all right, repeat after me. And I'm like, okay, like what are you gonna say? Right. And I'm like, he's like, I forget exactly what you said, but like, it's not you, it's not me, it's in like, name the stuff that's going on. It's like, it's the carving in the shop, it's the dentist, it's like all these different things that are like piling up. And it just sounds like if you don't give yourself that outlet, like name what's going on, laugh about it, complain about things, just share, so that you go like, we're on the same team, like we're giving each other space to like hear each other out about that. And it made a huge difference, because I know we did feel like the tension, right? It's like we're trying to like get through, and it's like we know it's not you, but like if you just don't give me some space.
Yeah. But you gotta think about it, it's like holding a grenade and he's standing right next to you. Like he's
Right.
the one that's gonna be impacted by it, right?
Right.
And so I do think that's really important, and not to shift like completely off, because this sounds kind of weird going from like parents that are ill to like finances. But that was some of the same ways that we had to deal with each other when it came to our finances, and how to like be better stewards over it, and deal with it. It was like, what are your issues actually that are surrounding money? Like, because it's not the physical money, it's your attachment to the money.
Right.
What is that about? Because that was a big. We still working.
So we are still working. I think that led to a lot of like negative outlooks in other areas of our relationship, because you mentioned something like, hey, it's not us, it's the situation around us, right? I know that you love me and that you care for me, but sometimes I felt like I was protecting the household against maybe some of her spending habits, and then that put me to the mindset like, I've got to protect myself against you sometimes, right? I remember her one time saying, I love you and I'm your wife, and I thought,
I'm not your enemy.
okay. But I mean, I understood that she loved me, but I also thought like, well, in some regard, I feel like, I can say you take advantage of me, but I felt like, some situations I felt like, I think you're manipulating me right now, right? And I feel like something's off, right? And I feel like I gotta look out for me, because you're trying to get me to do something I don't want to do. Just like a variety of situations. But I didn't have the outlook like, well, this is my wife, this is my spouse. She's not trying to compete with me or lead me down a certain path. I should find out what her outlook is on the situation versus getting defensive like, oh, you trying to run game right now.
Right, yeah.
But I needed that.
Right.
He was calling me out behind behavior that I had learned to do. My manipulative behavior to get what I wanted, right? To feed my need to do things. Because Ken became the primary breadwinner, and I've always made my own money. I've always been independent. And so now I can't just ask you for the money. I have to make you think you want to give me the money. Right? I can't ask you.
Jedi mind trick.
Right.
I can't ask you. No, I'm serious.
I know.
I can't outright say, give me $100.
Right.
No, it would be nice.
Right.
So, and I, like I said, it's a lot of behavior that was manipulated on my part, and came and called me out, and I'm like, how dare you call me out?
Right.
Challenge me.
Right.
But I think especially when it came to money as well, like when we talk about having.
Sorry.
We're gonna get to that.
Yeah, but
Just hold that.
When it came to money, like we were talking about before, you have ethnically your background or culturally your background is a bit different. My mom is Romani, which is Gypsy, and we like.
Wait. I know nothing about what you just said. When you said Romani, I'm thinking about Romania.
No, it's completely
Exactly.
different cultural ethnicity within usually Romania, different parts of Russia, like this whole thing. But my mother's family migrated here like around the Holocaust time, and so we've been here in America for quite some time. But we are Gypsy, but really our term is Romani, right? And most people think that's like a character from like Disney. It's not. We're actual people, a culture, a language,
Wow,
a
right.
background. But the women in my culture have very expensive taste. We are women that we enjoy our gold, we enjoy our nice clothes, we enjoy certain things, certain aspects. And so I was providing those things for myself, but now, okay, you're my husband, go provide. Be the provider.
Right.
There should be no question for what I want. And he's like,
No question?
Yeah, no question.
She's like, whoa, good,
And he
dude.
was not. And
Yeah.
so he was calling me to task in a way that I'd never seen a woman be called to task on.
Real talk.
So that was, I didn't like it, but it was necessary.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Yeah,
Well,
we got to
no,
get back to that.
It was just funny, just like you can't just ask, and like we both work, but I know that he is the budgeter. He is like, I go, that is your skill set, and I respect that. And it was hard in the beginning to hand that over, where it was like, all right, I don't like doing this, but I've always had to do it. But you are
Like it.
ecstatic, and so it's like, this makes sense. Let me offload something that, because I have a lot of control stuff still going on. So it's like I release that, but it means that we have to communicate more about what I'm spending on, and I spend not a lot, but just things. We're in Costco, and I'm like, we need a hose. You know why we need a hose? Because we gotta wash cars. I'm not washing any cars.
Right.
But I'm like,
You're like, you need a hose.
but it sounds good. It's like, we need to wash out the garbage cans and the recycle bins. We're gonna need it to clean out the cars, and this is why we need the hose. And he's like, I mean, all right, it's like 100-foot
100 feet.
hose. So I lift it up, put it in the cart, and then I just know I said all the right things for him to go yeah, that makes sense. So he's just going on, and he brings up, he's like, wait a minute, why? It's 100 feet. Our garage, we need 20 feet maybe. And
Not even 20.
He's like, and I just feel like it's a win. It's a win. It feels good. And then he's starts to question it, and I go, oh shoot, I didn't do a good enough job. But then I go, you're right, we don't need 100 feet. Then it's gonna take up space. But yeah, it brings that up where I go I have a hard time just being I want this. I have to create this whole story over why it's
But then that goes
Draw
back to
him
your
into
own trauma. Is that something you had to do when you were growing up to have a big reason to have a need?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that what you had to do? And I know something I gotta make you believe you want to do it.
Right, right.
That's the thing. So yeah,
We so on the other end of the spectrum, we found middle ground, right? Because on me, I want
Yeah,
to
say your bad stuff.
Right.
Say your stuff.
Right. I was spending a lot of money.
Right.
Because for me, money is security.
Right.
So I'll just order it away. That doesn't mean I know what I'm doing with it. I just know I got it.
Right.
I might not invest it like I should, right? I'm just holding on to it because I can look at it and go, okay, we good.
Right.
It's right there, right?
You know the duck from do you remember
Just
the
on
old
Scrooge.
cartoon Scrooge where he'd be swimming in the gold, swimming in the gold thing?
Right.
Don't spend it. That's just him.
Right.
Just swimming in it.
That to a certain point.
Yeah.
But then, my wife also brought up well, we want to have experiences, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to wish that we did something. We have the means to do it, so let's pick and choose the things that we do. You don't have to just hold money, right?
Yeah.
And as it took a while, it took years, right? And I started doing it, and it felt good, and I saw the reaction from my wife and my family.
Oh,
Okay.
the pain when
It took a long time, right? So I'm
Yeah,
not sure about you guys, but I was broke before.
Right. Broke.
I never wanted to go back to that feeling.
Man.
It was an emasculating feeling. I felt helpless. I never wanted to go back to that mental space again. So I just overcompensated.
Right.
But that's not necessarily a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we found balance in year 16, right?
Right, year 2072. No, it's constantly changing, and what we've gotten out of it when it comes to finances is understanding what's a need, what's a want, what's a luxury.
Right.
And this goes into how we parent as well, because the smarter we get with how we utilize our money, and whether we're saving, spending, distributing, we can impart those ideas on our kids. Because for me, I used to think that I would parent from a place that I want to give them everything I didn't have.
Right.
And that gets expensive.
Oh yes.
Right? It gets expensive.
Does it?
And so I was willing to go to war with Ken
Right.
to sell him, not sell him, but to create something for my kids
Uh-huh.
that I thought they wanted, but it was really something I was trying to heal with
They
them.
weren't even tripping on those
Like,
Nikes.
Exactly.
They don't even want them.
Yes.
We would go, we planned a trip, and we wanted to go to the San Diego Zoo. Now, when I do the San Diego Zoo,
We doing everything.
Right.
so
We go.
we'll do 2 trips. So one trip we went, and Ken had it was a work trip. So I had the girls. We're in San Diego. We went to the zoo. Oh, we did the VIP. Went to pet animals. We was petting the hogs and running with the cheetahs. Like we was doing it all, right? And then Ken was like, and I even told the girls, and this is the part that is unhealthy. I was like, don't tell your daddy we doing all this. Like, don't tell your daddy we doing all this, right?
Shoot.
But they were so excited.
Right.
How could they not?
How could they not? And
Daddy, we gotta. And you're like,
And I'm like, that's gotta be expensive because that sounds like that is something extravagant.
Right.
It's gotta have cost of money. Come on now.
yeah, and I was like, no, it
Hilarious.
was a discount. I had a coupon. Right? And so
he's like, this bank statement don't show no coupon.
I was like, I was
Throwing up.
Right.
Crabs.
There was a coupon for cheetahs.
So what ended up happening was Ken and I we went to war over it.
I
And I
bet.
was like, how dare you tell me that? Da, 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 da. And then he goes, okay, let's do it my way the next time we go. He goes, the money spent, you did it. I gotta go make it back. The next time we go out there, we go because I want to go to the zoo. He didn't get to go to the zoo, right?
Right.
We went to the zoo. We didn't do none of that. The girl's like, this is the best day of my life. Da, da, da. And I
So
was like,
offended. How dare you?
Like, y'all don't remember the VIP, the giraffe?
We didn't even buy the food at the park. He got Lunchables.
Come on.
He got juice.
Let's go.
They love
Exactly.
What about us shared time?
Exactly.
They thought they was like, this is so much better. We get to work, and I was like, I ain't never gonna forget this.
Right.
It was like, I'm gonna see y'all in a minute. I need a second.
But I had to
That's
say-
the last
yeah.
VIP.
And
Y'all
that's
get
no, but every time then after that, I had to ask myself, am I doing it for my kids or am I doing it for me?
Right.
Because that was the
Yeah.
rudest awakening of my life. I was like, but I let you feed the giraffe.
Right.
And they were like, we love our Lunchables.
Right.
You know, that was like a big awakening that I had to stop parent hogging. Like I call it situational hogging, where you think like I'm doing it better, and
Yeah.
then start like referring to him and actually believing his ideas are worthy to be like enacted as a parent. So
Right.
finances, that was, I think when we broke through on that, we broke through in so many other areas of
Yeah.
our relationship.
Yeah, it's super key because those emotions that we have around, I mean, money itself is just emotional. But when you bring in children, you bring in the children that you love, the experiences that you want them to have, the experiences that you didn't have, things that you wish you would have had, things that they would be so happy if they just had these opportunities. It makes it even more emotional. But with that being said, like you said, when you guys went to war, I was like, man, like I could only imagine, because we had some real issues around it because, for instance, we went to San Diego and Los Angeles on a trip.
San Diego, huh?
And yeah, and we went out there, Legoland, and he wanted to get some shoes. I'm like, cool. So we're at Foot Locker. There's a lot of shoes.
It's like the big old wait.
No. Let me just.
We're in Hollywood.
Let's have this moment. Yeah, let us have this moment. Yeah, there are nothing but
It's not gonna
shoes.
cut off. Is it like automatically turn off?
No.
I don't know. It
In the
doesn't
bottom
automatically
corner?
cut off.
No?
We
Okay.
could look at that part.
I was gonna say,
But
hopefully
we're
it'll
gonna get
stay.
back to the shoes.
Yeah. I know.
I'm
I'm like, oh, there's something on the screen there.
Right now.
That is just calendar and reminder. There are nothing but shoes. Do you have shoes from $49.95? Okay, all the way to I don't know the one she got. Right? Like I promise you, I'm like, bro, like he knows nothing about this, and that's the reality is that we bring our reality to them. So we go like you said. I want you to have. The Dolce & Gabbana, right? And they go like, whatever. They're like, oh man, Dose and banana is the dopest. And honestly, they're not even really excited about it because they're like, dude, like I just wanted some shoes.
They're like, I wanted the light up ones.
Right. You know what I mean? And you're like, no, but you got to get I'm telling you these. And so he walks out with these Air Maxes, all kinds of air bubbles. Listen, don't jump for nobody. You know what I'm talking about? Like, ain't nothing athletic happening in those shoes. Okay? Listen. And I'm also saying, and not trying to impress nobody. Like, it doesn't mean anything to him. So I'm like, yo, like, don't get me wrong. I think we were still dating. I hadn't proposed yet. I'm trying to, like, see what your flow is, okay? This is how you do things. But, we talked the next couple of nights, and I'm like, yo, like, I can't believe that you didn't think nothing of that for this situation when honestly these shoes were voluntary. Like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like he needs some shoes for school. Like we're on vacation. Like you don't need shoes for vacation. Like what's going on? And so we got into that, but what it began to show was just like that, again, that emotional thing of like, I want him to have this, and we had to do a thing. So one thing that we do now, one thing that we do now,
what I didn't have.
Yeah, is I go to Nike Outlet alone with a shoe size, and I go, I'll be back. Because if you come, you're about to bring this whole other thing. You're gonna be like, no, because and I promise you, first of all, these shoes are about to last about 3 weeks.
Right.
So listen, right through him. Not only because of this, like the size of his feet, it's just concerning, but also just the carelessness with which he plays. It does not justify the $200 that we would like to spend on his shoes. And slowly. I mean, I say slowly, but surely. What's that? In time, in a number of days, we start seeing like, man. He already scuffed him up like the first day, right?
Watching them shoes. What's that new line on that shoe?
Right. Listen, because he cares nothing about them. So I'm like, listen, just check, work with me, like give it a shot. Like you said, give it a shot. I'm gonna do San Diego, see how this goes. So I go, these are the shoes he has, see how this goes. Weeks, all kinds of stuff is rubbed off. We're like, how do you even rub that part off? Like that's not even the bottom. It's like the side. That's like the top. Like, how do you even? What are you doing?
Yeah, but same thing. He doesn't care just as long as if they're new shoes. He's like they're new, and he's excited about it.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
We still have that issue, honestly.
sometimes.
Like, kind of like you said, nowadays you just go by yourself because you know if you bring her, it's gonna be an issue. Some things, I internally that this is my line in the sand. I know my wife's gonna want to do all these things, and I'm fine with it. But this is my line in the sand.
Right.
Talk about it, right? And I think having that understanding that is really it's communication, right? So we'll communicate what the expectations are, and I'm okay with it, and she's okay with it. She's gonna fulfill some of these desires. Kids are gonna be happy. We're all gonna be happy because we didn't spend a lot of money.
Right.
I have a problem with surprise expenditures, right? Perfect example. We go on vacation, and the big thing used to be we should tell the kids, hey, bring a jacket. Oh, I couldn't bring a jacket. We get to where we're going. Where's your jacket? Oh, I didn't bring a jacket.
Right.
This man did that in Tahoe once in the snow.
No,
Our
no,
daughter
it's not
forgot a
Tahoe.
jacket. I know.
He's like, well, guess you're gonna get cold.
He was
Right.
It was snowing.
But it's okay. Well, you didn't bring a jacket. Okay, so now we gotta go buy a jacket. And
Right.
I'm saying, it ain't just any jacket.
Right.
It's gotta be a nice jacket.
Right.
It's gonna last because she's like, well, I don't want her nothing that's cheap and unsightly. It's gotta be a nice jacket.
Right.
And I'm like, here we are. They got jackets on. We don't need to be buying jackets. Now we can buy hundreds of dollars of
Right.
product.
We're only gonna wear one
time.
Right.
In 2 years is not gonna fit.
It's like
next
Right.
year. Yeah.
And then when you go back home, it's not going to be that cold for that North Face.
Right.
So you can't wear it again.
But one thing that I do want to say that I know we're getting down on spending money, but I want to talk about the positives of when we make y'all spend money.
When we make y'all spend money. You could keep talking. I just had to turn these lights.
Okay, I'm about to say, let me clear my throat. No, but one of the things that I had to help Ken, remind him and share my knowledge is that sometimes when you buy things,
Let me know. I don't know nothing about any of this. Really.
Maybe what about just our regular lights?
We could start there.
Okay. We got lights. And then push the dimmers are down on the. There you go.
teamwork.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
That was wonderful.
Okay.
That was beautiful.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Some lights, but yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we do when we spend money is if we're planning a trip, one of the things I say is like, let's get everything that we need so that we'll never have to buy it again. So when we would go to the beach, buying things individually was a huge, like every time we have to buy, a sandcastle kit, every time we have, and I was like, if we buy these things and we have it now, all we have to do is pack up for the car and go,
Right.
and it makes us efficient.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I know the initial cost is gonna hurt, but it's gonna pay for itself, right? And so when we started doing things like that, we've reaped the benefits of it. We've had our like beach equipment, our snow equipment for like four,
Certain types of equipment.
like for 4 years, right?
Right.
We never had to spend money again. See?
Right.
Yeah.
So that is a
But
positive.
It is.
We had to talk about it though. It wasn't the last minute. I'm springing the money.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
plan.
yeah.
Yeah, we had to plan it out.
We have to
Absolutely.
communicate it, and that's the thing. But sometimes spending money and encouraging your partner to spend money, and when we talk about memories and building, there are some things that are overboard for kids, but I feel like sometimes with Ken, where we had to get to a place was, he was like, well, I didn't have it, and I'm fine. And it was like, but you really weren't fine. Like you're still mad.
That doesn't mean money has something to do with it though.
Right, but I'm not saying that money had to do with it, but it's like, if he goes, well, I say like he's never been in Great America.
Mm-hmm.
No, here's a perfect story. So for his birthday,
Here it goes.
for his birthday, we'll plan each other's trips, and so I took him to the amusement park, and I got the fast passes to like get on the rides and not have to wait in line, right? And he was like complaining. He was like, "I just spent all this money for these things." He's like, "It's so embarrassing. We gotta walk past these people."
No,
Three rides
I
in.
felt bad. Yeah.
3 rides in. He was like, "I ain't never paying for trips."
We
Then you
paid
get
our
fast
way.
pass.
If you ain't got the money, that's your problem.
That's my problem. It wasn't that bad, but I did stop here.
Right.
I'm here now, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are some times when you can enjoy spending a little extra, and it's worth it. So
It's
you
true.
can hold that in your pocket,
Yeah.
Dominique.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's something I've had to mostly about experiences for him. Like he's so much like having fun is not a priority and relaxing. So he's like, I'll travel, but if it's like there's purpose in the travel outside of just like having a chill time and like being at the beach. He's like, if there's a conference, if there's like a speaker,
Right.
if there's like something that we're going for, and then we could go to the beach. And I'm like, what? Like that's not how I try. I travel to get away from all of that and like do activities. So I've had to like take him on things, and it was a struggle. Like when we did Legoland,
Oh,
San
man.
Diego, took the train up to LA, did like Hollywood, and like let's just be tourists. He was like so tense.
Yeah.
Right.
He was like,
I can relate.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
just it's okay. But I feel like with time, you
Yeah.
been able to be like,
And
this is nice.
Part of it was because we were still dating, and I didn't have, if you will, any say so over, the finances and stuff like that. Also because of my, if you will, background and my passion, if you will, for personal finances, I know that I have a lot of thoughts and feelings around it, so I don't want to touch on it until it's time. So I'm like, no, do your own thing. But I was just like, there isn't a plan for how much we're about to spend or anything. So like, just at least let me know, like you have a plan of like what's happening.
Yeah.
And because there wasn't a plan, the first couple of times, like it was like, okay, but then we went to Puerto Rico and it was like, oh snap, like
I was like, that was a little
and that
out of
was
control.
Yeah, that was hard too. And the thing is we were with her family, and so it was another level of it too, right? Because now it's like, well, they're going to eat there, we got to eat there, right? And I'm drinking. Listen, I'm drinking all the water, right? I'm like, this is gonna come back on us. Like, I don't know what y'all plan is or whatever, but I don't know where this money is coming from. Like, don't get me wrong. I know she has a job. That's not the question. What is this like? How is this making any sense? And it wasn't. And a couple months later, like, it came to light, like Jermaine, like that whole situation. I don't know. I'm not gonna get out of that.
Like,
So
I'm gonna figure this out.
I'm not gonna say a word.
Right.
He's gonna be like, see, so I'm gonna have to make it work. And then a couple months later, I was like, so.
Yeah,
Puerto
because after you
Rico,
stretch so thin, and then you gotta come like, hey, babe,
Yeah.
you hungry?
Yeah.
Favorite
Like
meal?
peanut butter and jelly.
and a banana.
No,
Right.
but it is also us being responsible enough to know what's gonna put our partner at ease.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it is laying down your own pride and your own ego because you are in a relationship. And I think what ends up happening is you have two people that say, okay, we're in a relationship, but they want to operate as individuals all of the time.
Right,
You
right.
can't, like, and the biggest lie we were ever told getting married was like, when you get married, oh, you finally saw it?
Right.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm trying to get it. I'm like, oh shit, as soon as she's like, I'm like, oh, I'm like, Dominique, don't say nothing, Dominique, don't say nothing, Dominique.
And he was like,
Right.
no.
Right.
One of the biggest fallacies that we were told when we got married, and people toasted this at our weddings, that when you become married, you become one, and you think like each other, and you act like each other,
Right.
and you're half of a person.
Right.
That is the biggest lie.
Biggest lie.
You do not become half of a person.
Right.
You do not. If you melt into each other, that is because you burned everything down.
Right, right,
It's just
right.
like you're ashes to ashes. But learning how to communicate with a person, that's important. And finding out like their love language.
Mm-hmm.
And love language is not just physical touch. Love language is not just communication. Like one of Ken's love languages is being financially responsible.
Mm-hmm.
It's me saying, hey, this is the thing, and not me going, okay, let's compromise, see how it goes, how it works. It's me going, you know what? That's not financially responsible. So I'm gonna say no before I even bring it to you.
Right, right.
And for Ken, he knows like I like memories. So he'll surprise me with something, and it may not be grand, but it's a show like, I respect that you want experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like getting out of that bubble of trying to just be so separate and then demand the person like meet you there.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
my feel.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we give these examples of our differences, but those are also the reasons why we are attracted to one another too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just about the whole balance. That's what we worked out. So
Right.
you know, all these we have these trips that she wants to go on, and the girls want to go on, our daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the financial side of me, I'm like, I don't want to do this,
Mm-hmm.
but I realize there's benefit in it.
Mhm.
So as long as I know how much money I have to spend, I'm okay.
Right,
Just
right.
plan it out. Like
Right.
I said, I don't like last minute purchases, expenditures, right? That freaks me out, right? But if
Mhm.
I know what I'm getting into,
Right.
I'm fine. So
Right.
what we learn to do is we'll set aside some money for the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's earmarked for that, so it still brings up a little anxiety. Like, is this really the best way to spend this money? But
Right, right.
I know it's already set aside. It's not going to impact any other of our finances.
Right.
And you know, ultimately, I have yet to regret it because seeing my family happy brings me joy as well.
Right.
Being him stress free brings us all
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah.
Right.
It
Right.
is.
That's real.
It's true. Learning how to make it work, because I want to travel and have experiences, but I travel differently than him. Like, I don't tell myself no, and that was something I had to learn in our relationship. Like, we did Mexico, and it's like, all right, there's dolphins and there's sharks that you can swim with, and there's stingrays. I'm like, we're gonna do it all. And
Yeah.
he's like, okay, hold on, this is what we budgeted for activities. And I'm like, okay, he did budget for activities. So it's like, it would stress him out if I was like, no, I want to do dolphins and stingrays, and he's like, that
And sharks.
wasn't
Right.
in.
That's
And
too
you
much.
want all the
And- yeah.
photos. You want all the professional photos from there,
I
right?
had to give those up.
Right.
Right.
But
Right.
it's like right, like what am I willing to give up? Because he goes, this is how much, and even count it, like this is what we have. And it's like, all right, I have to make a decision. But yeah, that way he's less stressed because like we're agreeing on like this is how we're going to travel. So it makes it.
And you're holding your end of the bargain.
Yeah.
And when I think especially for Ken, every time he sees me hold up my end of the bargain, it like settles him and creates a little bit more safety in the relationship itself.
Yeah.
And so when I do bring something to him, he's less likely to fight me on it because he's had all these instances where he goes, she's like showed up for me.
Right.
She's met me there. So why would I, argue on this one?
Right. Right.
So he's gonna give me the 100-foot hose at Costco.
Right.
Right. Right. It's like, come on. Like she said, 20 is fine, but 100. I'm like, dude, we gonna be tripping over that thing, spraying our. It's like, right. All we need to do is go. Like, we don't gotta go nowhere with that hose. Oh my gosh.
So I have a question for you guys because it's brought up, and I want to make sure that I'm correct and I'm not just assuming. So you have a little that you brought into the marriage.
Yeah.
And Ken had a little that he brought into the marriage. I would never say my bonus, that's mine. I'll fight you if you tell me otherwise. I'll respect his mother because she wounded him, like, hands down. But how are you guys adjusting with that?
Yeah, I feel like, and it's something we constantly are talking about, and we just talked about at lunch today. It was a bumpy and rough transition initially, like dating, because we were like this, like something about boys and moms too. Like I just felt like we slept in the same bed, so like he had his room. He was like 7 when we met, still sleeping in my bed. So I set myself up for a really challenging dating life. Like I literally had to create a calendar for my son, and it said, these are the days that I'm going to be with him. This night, these are your days. It was like dating two people. That's how it felt. Like you get these days and then he gets these days, and I'm like, why? And I would tell him, like, I'm stressed. It feels like I'm living two lives. Like this is separate over here, he's over here. And so merging them was most definitely challenging because we had different ideas about parenting. But he's 7 and I've been parenting him for 7 years. So it's like, how does he struggled, right? Like watching things happen that he didn't agree with. Even like things around attitude. So like I didn't view it as attitude or like disrespect, but he was like, no, that's disrespectful. And I'm like, no, I think I know what disrespect is. He goes, I don't know what ears you have on, what filters, but that was not like, he was giving you some attitude. And I, the mom blinders, the rose colored glasses, that's my baby. And then guilt, like his dad's not in his life, like I'm trying to like make up for so much is what I felt like. And so we had to learn, and I had to learn to trust him. That was a big thing. I go, well, you're not a mother, you don't know how it feels. Like you don't know,
Straight to
Right,
it.
don't go through the...
Yeah, cat came down and he looked like...
Right.
we have a cat, so the cat comes out and goes, chaos.
Right.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So for you, it sounds like it was a learning, in your opinion, a fast learning curve. Because you don't, you go from 7 years to the time that you guys were dating to get this all together, right?
Yeah.
How about you for coming in, and you can't jump in like, so I'm dead.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely a long process, but I just came in, and so I came in like, all right, like y'all show me how this works, right? I don't know. So, how do I best do this, so that he can develop a good relationship with me and, you know, like the fact that I'm coming around and stuff like that. Okay, cool. Like, what do you need me to do? What does he need me to do? Okay, so, you know, we're doing all this, you know, taking a lot of cute pictures and shit. And I say shit on purpose because at some point it's like, they're like, but that's not what we have to do, right? We have to do some other real stuff. And so as time progressed, you know, continue to try to like stay on that, you know, I'm gonna let you do it type of vibe, move in together, still letting you do it, just show me, give me some pointers, blah, blah, blah. And slowly but surely you start noticing those interactions that were disrespectful. And I'm like, oh, this is hard. Now it's hard because now I see it. There are other moms that we run into who have sons who are his friends and stuff like that. And oh my God. And it's funny because I'm like, I'm never thinking like I'm going to be like that type of dad or whatever. But I'm just like, dude, like I'm about to smack everybody. Like, right. Like, whoa. Like, what is going on here? Why are you talking to her like that? Why are you talking to her like that? Who do you think you are? And so that energy was building up, but again, I gotta try to release it, you know, try to get over it. And in time, it got, you know, get enough time at the house, enough stuff. It was like, okay, don't get me wrong. Like, you love him, we love him, we want the best for him. So he got to get these hands. Like, that's just the way it has to. Like, this is love too. Like, don't get me wrong. The nice stuff is good. And what began to become clear was the trauma that she experienced growing up around the discipline was also standing in the way of disciplining him. And so I was like, okay, cool. That's understandable. I didn't go through that. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna handle this because that wasn't my issue, right? I'm like,
it's also,
we're good.
It's one of the, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's also like what a bad kid or like what bad behavior is. Like, he was such a chill kid, so like even in comparison to his friends, like we went on a Disneyland trip,
right,
with a friend of his and the mom, and I'm like, yeah, see, my son doesn't do that.
Right.
So I don't even feel like I need to entertain, like, you know, what I would do.
Comparison, he was tame to
In
that.
comparison
Exactly.
to a lot of, like, almost all his friends, I go, yeah, he doesn't do that to me. He doesn't yell at me in front of other, like, when we're out in public, he is well behaved. You know, there's some pouting and, like, you know, whining and stuff, but in comparison, and he's like, and that was my defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see all these other kids, like, he is fine. He's like, yeah, but we're disciplining him,
Right.
not him.
We're not worried about the
We're not worried about everybody else.
He's like, I'm willing to slap all of it.
Right.
Right. So they about to get it too.
See, if my kid was like that, I'd be slapping.
Right.
But
This brings me to one of the questions that you actually gave us when we talked about understanding femininity and masculinity.
Yeah.
And so, look at me just taking over my bag, y'all.
No, it's all good. I'm here for the whole
That's
thing.
my,
real self. See?
Like, yeah, I was like, you want me to do this? No, but it brings me to interesting plays, and I would love to open up on our end about it. But when you talk about feminine energy and masculine energy, and how you both have to bring that, and what that means, and so like, you're listening to him, like, how do you, like, as a man?
So our situation was reversed.
Right.
So just to address that, when I hear it, I go, man, you had a lot of work cut out for you. Like, as soon as you said your son slept in the bed with you, I was like, oh.
My heart.
Right.
All the things you had to go through, right? Well, like, the 7-year-old, he's thinking, this is my life. He probably thought you belonged to him as well, right? Like, this
Literally.
is my mom. Like, this is our relationship. He's a stranger coming in, shaking up my world. I don't want to shake my mom. Right? I'm supposed to be in that bed. You know what I mean? Like, all these things. And you're having to have patience because
I just want to add, there was this one situation, real quick. I'm in the room. He's outside in his room. He wakes up and the door is locked. The door is never locked.
I never lock
Yeah.
my
Door's
door.
never locked. I'm like, the door is locked. What you mean the door's never locked? The door's, I'm talking
It has
about,
a lock.
I'm talking about kicking the door.
And
Yeah,
I was
night
like,
too.
No, this was like 7 in the morning.
but I was like, my reaction was, let me just get up and open the door. And he's like, no, you need to learn that we unlock the door when we're ready to unlock the door. And oh my God, I was having like a panic attack. I was like, this is not comfortable. Like, this is not how our relationship is. Like, he has access to me whenever he needs me.
Yeah.
Like, there's no,
It was a whole
No
thing.
locked doors.
And it was one day, but I feel like when you said that you had your work cut up, I feel like that was the experience, but it was literally that one time. He didn't do that again and again, but he did have that initial, wasn't the first date or nothing like that,
Yeah.
but that time where he was like, he went off in his little, 7-year-old way. And I wasn't having it, but it was clear, right, that we had to work on, that was a lot that we had to work on in the future, but yeah.
No, so a lot of relationships don't survive that.
For real.
I had a stepfather growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and I can recall like I didn't sleep in my mom's bed, but it was just us, and then now he was here, and then watching him try to navigate how to establish himself and not cross certain boundaries, and then often like I was a child, I'm seeing what guidelines they're going to set for me, and then watching him and my mom kind of like butt heads, right? Because
Right.
she didn't want to change either, right? Certain things are comfortable for her, and then now you got to make room from another adult that has a say in the household that you were kind of the head person in charge of,
Right. End all be
So
all.
that was all these different conflicts, but I'm glad that you guys were able to work your way through it, or are still working toward it. With Dominique and I have a son, so he loved her. He couldn't
Right.
imagine. So honestly, it was probably,
I said that's his story.
We'll get into what I felt.
From what I saw,
Yeah.
maybe he did do a couple things that I guess they weren't that large of a scale.
No,
I noticed. But our issue was dealing with co-parenting with his mom. Because as soon as Dominique came around, it became a whole issue. Like,
Yeah.
she's not going nowhere; she's staying.
Uh-huh.
And then it became like a whole saga with co-parenting with her, and then my son
Trying to
being
make this
caught.
man comfortable.
Right.
So that was that was our issue, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily my son and Dominique. It was the other half.
Yeah.
Establishing boundaries there.
Yeah.
Before there were none.
Right.
So
So just to put in perspective, Ken had access to it. Like he would get a key to wherever is Israel, or that's our son. He had a key to walk in, walk out, and now he's with a woman who's like, you need to get that key back. Like,
Right.
some parameters that need to be set around.
Right.
And what as I got older and had a wiser outlook on it, Ken had to basically, even though she had moved on and was with someone else, they set a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because for Ken, that was his only like solid connection to another woman that had to be in his life, that had his son. And so when I came in, it was like they had to break up in a sense, right? And I was young, so in my mind, I was like,
Right, you gotta go.
I don't know what you thought was going on.
but that was my lack of maturity and insecurity over the situation. But one of the things that came with Israel was I came from a family that had a stepfather, and he wasn't kind. He wasn't a very nice person. And he was young too, so a lot of things then I was like, oh, you're so mean. He was young, he knew what he was doing, you know. But there was emotional trauma, there was physical abuse. So when I met Israel, I knew I had to make a choice if I was going to fall in love with him long before I was ever going to fall in love with Ken. Because if I couldn't fall in love with his son, I wasn't going to traumatize his son. Because kids know, like if someone likes them or don't like them or whatever the case may be. So I had to make that choice. Am I going to fall in love with this young little boy and then work at this, what I have with Ken? So that was huge. Israel, he was a good kid, but I think his influence, it was hard for him because he loved his mother. He loves his mother.
Right.
He loves his mother. And I mean, when he was younger, he loved like deep, like if his mom said whatever, he was jumping to it, which is, it's fine. It's okay. But it made it hard for him to fully connect with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could never broach Israel in a sense of being a parent like how you broached with, I'm sorry.
Micaelo.
Mika.
Micaelo.
Micaela. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I could never broach our relationship as I'm your stepmom, I'm your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I had to navigate friend, then parent, then blend, then establish okay, I have some say.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would have never worked out. But I think that's the feminine energy to nurture and build it, and then the masculine is well, I'm here now.
Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I made a mistake because I didn't know what I was doing either, right? And I didn't set boundaries with his mother. So even though I knew we didn't really have any, I had a key because my mindset was wherever my son is, I'm gonna have access to, right? So often I would go in and pick him up, and there was no set time frames for anything. We just did whatever we wanted to do. And then when Dominique and I got together, there needed to be some boundaries, and I didn't really know how to set them. I just thought we would do what we continue to do until it became a problem. And then when that one thing became a problem, we just changed it.
Yeah.
Not really having the foresight to go, oh, there might be other problems. You should address all this now.
Right.
I kept bumping my head and going, well, I guess I got to change it now. I don't like it. I didn't think maybe I should set some boundaries that she's comfortable with. His mom was comfortable with. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Right?
And so haphazardly, I think it would put her and I in a standoff when there was no real standoff to be had. And then when one person would be like, okay, well, whatever, I'm fine. The other would be like, I don't like you. It was that automatic, and there's other issues, but I think that's we were all young. I met Ken when I was 19.
Right.
And Ken had his first child when he was 20.
Mm-hmm.
20, 21?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we're all kind of still babies in this,
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
then, and Ken is 8, I like to say 10. He's 9 years older than me.
To me, it's not.
But so in my mind, I was like, well, and I'm young. And I'm like, well, y'all are old. Y'all should have this figured out. Y'all should know how to do this.
Right. I know what you mean.
Exactly. Right. You should have this down. But we were just all still young and trying to assert dominance. It's that ego.
Yeah.
And so you have to, as you get older, especially when it comes to kids, being a bonus parent, you have to learn to let a lot of that ego just die.
Yeah.
And do, okay, what's best for the kid?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my, from my point of view of being a bonus mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. I think that feminine masculine, it was just nice. He was like, I'm about to whoop, and I'm like, and I'm
Right.
and I'm over here
Right.
like, would you like to have a deep conversation?
Right.
I'm like, we talk about our
Would
feelings,
you like
okay?
to?
Right.
But so she also says that if I had a daughter,
Oh, I would have said
she
no.
didn't think it was gonna work.
Right.
It would be.
I would have said no. If he would have had a daughter, I would have said no. I would have backed away no matter how much I liked him. I would have backed away.
Because
I felt like if he had a daughter's relationship with her father is it is so strong, and she would have did everything to run me off. And the part of it is I would have agreed with her because I never had a father. So to see a daughter fight that hard, I'd be like, oh, girl, please have it. I would have not stepped in the middle of that relationship, and I think she probably would have tried to murder me.
Because I had a whole story in my head.
I ain't drinking that water. Not today. Now with that look she gave me.
Right.
But yeah, and because of the way Ken was as a father, I didn't want children. I was like, I'm cool. I would like to travel. We could be independent. We could do this thing. And Ken asked me for our daughter. He was like, I want to have a baby. I know we're gonna have beautiful girls, beautiful babies. He was ready, and I was like, are you crazy? But watching the way that he parented, watching what he did, I was like, because I knew if I ever had kids, that was it. Whether I was in an abusive relationship, whether I was in like a toxic relationship, I was gonna go to the wall for two parents to be in a home.
Right.
So that scares you off because you don't know what you're gonna get.
Right.
But he showed me like I could trust him that if all failed, he'd be an outstanding father.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why I felt safe enough to have kids. But yeah, I didn't want kids. I was like, good luck.
Right.
Some babies. But
Right. No, I hear that. That's interesting. So a couple things is I also am like not excited about having more kids. When she said that she has a son, it was like, okay, you know what I mean? I could do that.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I like worked at the junior high school. Like I just, you know, kind of figured I could figure it out. And to a good degree, I do feel like I've managed well given, you know, our situation and how things have gone. But even I want to say the last year it came up too that we need to work on some more boundaries, some more things, because it dawned on me harder and harder, bringing back some of the nice guy stuff, is we're raising a boy where they want to become, that we want to be a man. And we're having a relationship and we're having complications in our relationship because of some of the ways that I was influenced by women and, you know, how I should be more for women and so on and so forth. And how she's basically got me in a headlock because she's using all of that energy to go, and that's why I should have all of this power and all this control, and my trauma should just rule this relationship. And so
succinct.
Yeah, hey, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm gonna say.
And so what has become more and more clear is like, hey, you know, I played sports and stuff when I was young, you know, baseball, basketball, football. You know, I'm trying to do soccer, which I'm probably not going to do, like literally this week. And I'm like, dude, like these knees just ain't about to turn like they need to be turning when they need to turn. Right, yeah. It's like, I don't know. But with that being said, I you know, I grew up, my dad was around, the whole nine, you know, hated yard work, you know, all the stuff that you just don't like as a kid, didn't like it. Parents split up. I stayed with my dad for a little bit, went and spent a whole lot of time with my mom. Junior high school comes, girls are like, oh my gosh, that's Jermaine. And after that, high school, what began to become clear is that I, as a black male, identify with other black males, even though I was going to some of like the more, I want to say prestigious, whatever you want to call it, like schools, where it's like, okay, like, you know, everybody doesn't get to go here. And it's like, well, thanks, that's what's up. But like, I'm still kicking it with all these niggas. And the reality is that like, that's all they were doing. And I was doing it, even though that wasn't even like how I roll, but that's all like, I could identify most with that than everybody else, you know, is wearing this and that, and they have money for that. Couldn't relate. Fast forward, time progresses, I'm starting to get, okay, this is how you gotta treat women, this is what women want, this is what women need, this is what blah, blah, blah. And so I'm starting to try to shape myself around all of that. And we find ourselves in our situation, and I'm trying to just go, well, hey, like, you know, you want to talk about feelings? Let's talk about feelings. You want to write? We could write. You want to do this? We could do that. We could get as much help as you want, blah, 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 blah. And she's like not budging. She's like not appeased by all of it. She's still like mad about this, exploding about that, and I'm like, yo, look, I'm giving you room to be vulnerable. I'm giving you this. I'm giving you that. What do you need? So it became clear that the niceness, all the sweetness, all of the understandingness wasn't getting me nowhere.
Well, it sounds like you were trying to save her, and maybe she didn't want to be saved.
Yes. To some degree, yeah. Absolutely. And so with that being said, I need to go, I have to stop trying to save you. Mm-hmm. I have to take care of myself first and care about myself and what I need. Back to the son stuff. So we got to make sure that he gets this from the jump that he's surrounded by men. Men are in his life. Men are demonstrating their power, their strength, their responsibility, all these different things, and aren't, if you will, succumbing to whatever the women around them need at that moment, just because women need that. Because the reality is that there are going to be some moments where he has to disagree. He has to be honest and go, hey, like, I'm not feeling that, and I matter too. Whereas when I thought about what you're saying about like the outbursts, in those moments you clear out the room. Nobody else matters except what mom just said, right? And in these moments we have to go, hey, don't get me wrong. More power to you, you know what I'm saying? Me too, you know. But you can't just clear out the room like that. Like, don't get me wrong, you're upset. We could talk about that. He needs to be checked. He doesn't. He didn't do that. She didn't do that. Let's talk about that. But we are all here, and so let's do it in a different way that honors everybody here, you know, so on and so forth. And so with that being said, I'm like, snap, I have to step into this more so than just giving her that all the room to do how she does things. I have to trust, which is a whole other part, trust my instincts, trust my feelings, and go, hey, I get that you guys have a thing, and that's really nice. But I'm here now.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do that literally for 3 years. This is y'all thing. I'm just trying to roll with it. I'm going to advise you on like what I think you should do, but I'm not going to do that. In that time, it was like,
Yeah, and I think
if he has to get whooped today, I'm gonna just do it. And if you don't like it, I get you. There's doors to the room and stuff. You can walk out, but I can't just let it all go and say it's yours, everything is yours. We go and do things your way, and therefore it's fine. It's like I have to be here as well, and you guys have to adjust to me. And
so defining those gender, I think this is actually one of the questions that you sent us when we're talking about gender roles and how are we defining those. It's hard because as much as we want to say men do this, women do this, those things are interchangeable as we become more self-aware.
it's true.
Yeah. And so my question is, going into those gender roles, even if you're saying I'm the man, I'm coming and doing this, do they become flexible as well, or are they just like hard line? There is no.
Yeah, I think they definitely, it's flexible. I don't feel like we're so traditional in our marriage at all, but I feel like where the masculinity comes in is the energy, not so much of like the task and duties. Like he brings a certain energy and perspective that I think is needed for the balance in the household and in our relationship. But I feel like we communicate just about like how things will be done in the house. Yeah, I would say, and even with having a son, going like, you do dishes, you pick up stuff, you can sweep, like you're not above any of that. Like it's not mom just like cleaning up after the boys all the time. It's like, he'll do the dishes, I'll do the dishes, clean bathrooms. So we kind of split things. Like it's actually me and my son who do the garbage. It's just kind of worked out that way because of when it has to go out. Yeah, here, not at the other place.
Yeah.
But here,
Let's be
because
clear.
of timing and like when he gets home, so it's like we'll just handle that. So I make my son do the recycle and things like that. But I don't feel like we've bumped into a lot of like who's like, except that I don't like doing garbage, but here it's a little different.
Yes and no. Not definitely flexible. Like also again, because that's what I'm used to, trying to be flexible, right? So it's not even like I'm drawing these hard lines, but it really is coming from that place of like, he has to just be more acquainted with the discipline and so forth, the consequences of things. Sometimes she would get mad at him and tell him what he did wrong, and then he like walk off with his head down, and I'm like, no, there's more. Like there's levels to the sins, right? There's levels to there's
here. I'm like,
right, right. He gets it.
He knows.
Right.
There's no consequence. to it.
Right.
Exactly. So at time it goes, okay, now, okay, don't get me wrong, you told him, but he needs more than that, because what he just did is something that we were talking to him about on Monday, and it's Wednesday, and he did it again. So like, we got to come up with some more stuff. And I was telling her when we were first starting to deal with it, like, hey, like, he's 7 now, like, he's gonna break some rules right now that are different than the rules he's going to break when he's 13. Like, we got to be ready for when he becomes 13. We can't keep going, for instance, timeouts, until he's 18 and he moves out the house, hopefully, right? But the reality is that there's going to be times where he's going to do something that's going to hurt a lot more than what he did when he was 7. And you got to have a response for that. So I didn't say, you have to start whipping him now, but you have to just at least have ideas for what you're going to do when the sins get greater and greater, because that's part of the grown-up process. We're going to do some bigger stuff. Like, a car might be missing, right, for a few hours. A door might be unlocked. A window might be climbed out of. We can't respond to it like, it was the spilled orange juice on the floor that got to the carpet. You know what I mean?
I also think there is a sense of, and I'll let you speak to this, but you're raising a black boy in society. And I'm not going to go far on that, because I'm not a man. I can only have my opinion, but our son is 22. So Ken can speak to like the feelings of why certain ways that he chose to give consequences are punished, and then I would just like to speak to the way to, like, in this moment, to advocate for some of the feelings that my son has now that he is an adult, dealing with some of the ways that he was punished for certain things. So,
What do you mean punishment?
well, like, as far as like corporal punishment or spankings or things like that.
So, I did come up in an era where you spanked your children.
Right.
So I was always comfortable with it. But I think overall, I always believed that if you didn't discipline your child, the world will discipline
Right.
And often harsher.
Yeah.
So it's necessary, even though it's tough. I think actually Dominique brought out balance, because at first I was kind of hard on my son in certain areas where maybe I didn't need to be, right? And I can recall one time where we were out to eat and he was messing around. He did something, and I punched him, right? Wasn't like
Right.
I got that one.
but I mean, that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
Right? I can recall my mom doing that to me, my dad, right? So I didn't think anything of it. And I remember, after things calmed down, it wasn't like to knock him out. It was to get his attention.
Yeah.
He got really offended, right? And he kind of shut down totally. And I was happy because it stopped the behavior.
Right.
Right.
That boy shut up.
Right. She pulled me to the side. You might not have to have done that, right? There's other ways to kind of go about doing it. And my fear was, you can't go out and be undisciplined in this world, especially as a black male, because often you're judged more harshly, right? In a variety of ways. I think it's kind of well known. We don't have to count them out, but you're looked at a little bit differently. You step outside your door. We love you in here. The world might not.
Right.
So you can't just be wilding out.
Right.
You're not gonna have the same type of empathy and sympathy for you, right? And that was like my concern, and I think I did. There were some mistakes made. I think now our relationship's a lot better. I learned to communicate with them more and kind of like lay it out. Still hold them accountable, but I kind of lay out why I want to do certain things. And now the hard part is because I love them so much, and we get along so great, enforcing the consequence.
Right.
And now I'm like, man, maybe he just didn't really hear what I said. So let me repeat it again, right?
He's like, I really want to go see that Marvel movie.
Right, like, because I want to do things with him, but now I'm finding myself holding me accountable to hold him accountable.
Right.
But I know overall, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So like you were speaking to, right, there has to be a consequence. Because when you walk outside those doors, the world's going to have a consequence for you.
Real consequences,
right?
yeah.
And I hold true to that, because like I said, I'm not a black man, right? But I think when it comes to corporal punishment, I know that when I've had conversations with our son, he goes, it shut me down in a way that I couldn't advocate for myself to the rest of the world. Because the punishment felt so severe that when I went out and I did something, I automatically feared what would happen if I spoke up, if I said something, if I disliked something. And then he goes, it shut down my ability to communicate with my parents because I felt like communicating with them or behave, I had to, he would say he had to mask. Like he never became himself with his parents until he got a little bit older because he was in fear of being himself because it felt like himself was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that came with the corporal punishment aspect. And I mean, there's other things that have to do with that. So in light of that, and I'm not a perfect parent in the sense of, because there's times I was like, I will whoop your behind without hesitation. And I have girls. And what ended up happening for me was like, I'm going to whoop you, but there's going to come a point where we're going to be two women basically looking at each other. You're going to hit an age where you go, you're not about to be hitting me.
I'm not taking no whoopings.
Right.
And in that moment, I had to ask myself, am I going to go head up with my child, with my daughter? I mean, I'm going to win, but...
So don't get me wrong.
But that, for me, when I was growing up, you know, like, that's the experience with my mother and myself. And that was the saddest feeling to know that someone who birthed you was willing to, like, hurt you in that manner. To teach you something that was based upon their fear, their insecurities, their idea of the world. And so it's something that you have to like think about and take into account. I'm not saying I can't tell anybody how to parent. That's not my job. I don't have a degree. Not man nowhere. But it's just understanding that the ways that we are parenting from the place that we're parenting. Are we parenting from a place of like I'm taking you into account, or am I parenting from a place of like trauma or insecurities or fear? Because you'll do crazy things when you're scared.
Right.
You'll do crazy things to protect your children from a perceived like monster.
Right.
And I think black men, it's not so much perceived as it is real that there are monsters out there.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just want to make sure I advocate it. So, son, when you hear this,
Right.
And for my daughters, you know, my daughters, there are things that you think your kids are gonna forget. Like you think it's a minor moment,
Oh my gosh.
and it's not.
They will remind you.
And they will come back and they will remind you, and it'll be when you think everything is great.
Right.
Y'all are gonna be having a great day,
Right.
and you're like, we get along so good. Oh, they love me, and you're like, you know, remember when you did that to me? That left a mark on my soul. You know, like, didn't I buy you ice cream?
Right.
But you know, we have to be conscious of that because those are things that we're like. As much as we don't want to traumatize our children, we are imprinting on them by our behavior, by not just like what we do to them, but what we do around them. So, but that's I was like,
Yeah, that's important. That's something that, you know, we talked about earlier today, just like the love that I want to give him, and I want to create such a safe space for him here, because I go, that's not what you're going to get out in the world. And so I want you to be able to feel your feelings here. I don't want you to have to hide them and suppress them. I want you to be able to cry, to be able to tell me what you're thinking, how you're feeling. So that was like my approach.
Like no.
But
she about to say
that. He does that, and we talked about it because it goes, you know, it's while I do stand by them, I think it's important. It's also important for him to be set up for success as well, because if that's all you're getting here, and you think, and I'm just like, well, out there they don't do it, but you don't get to experience that. Then when you go out there, it's going to be a shock, because you're like, wait, I had all the room, and so it's like, whoa, like, I'm not ready for this, and so, you know, it's well intentioned, but it can still be harmful, you know, and they can still hold it against you as an adult. Like, that's kids. We'll do that.
Your kids
no matter.
We
No,
always say that.
Yeah, we talked about that too. It's like you don't want to, but it's like, look, we're going to overcompensate in some ways because of our trauma, and then they're going to be like, but then why didn't you? But I didn't get this, and it's like, well, we were so concerned on this part here that we focused on, and they're like, well, like you helped me too much, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know. So it's like we can't win completely as parents. There's not like one way to do it, but yeah, one of the things that I'm in agreement now is we want to set him up to be a successful, like independent and successful outside of our home.
Right.
And so there are some things that, you know, him being able to wash clothes, do the dishes, cook meals, like make food if he needs to, you know, like, and me being like, initially like, well, he's too young, like,
Right.
I don't want to make his food,
Yeah.
like, and he's like, no, let him, you know, like, he needs to learn how to do this, but he came from a place of his experience with his mom and him feeling like, and I could let you speak to that, like, not so much, not being pushed to do for himself, and like, that's his experience. I don't have that. My parents, I was cleaning and washing dishes and doing all of that stuff. So I felt prepared when I left, but it wasn't his story. But it's why it's good to have two sides, two people,
Right.
two different lived experiences, and then
And
you
working
could both
together.
pour into your kid in different ways.
Yeah. No, that it was a real thing that you know, I felt, you know, once I had gotten to my 30s, that like, oh snap, like I was not prepared for this, and therefore this is way harder than I think it has to be or had to be if they would have just taken that time to go like, don't get me wrong, you're not gonna like this. About to set up some rules and you gotta work with these rules, but I'm not doing it to hurt you, but you gotta work in these rules. And I felt like the gifts that I got from having a lot of the hard knocks that I had in my early 30s was what allows us to work, is because work wasn't foreign anymore. You know what I mean? I think at one point it was like everything's going to be okay. I have all these cushions. Everything's going to work out. But, you know, I had to figure out so many things with the assistance of my dad's tough love. He was like, you know, I was staying with my grandmother and my mom. She kicked me out of nowhere, just like, you got to get out. I'm like, why? You just do. And I was like, okay. But I honestly looked at it like, hey, like this is an opportunity to grow in some ways that I didn't expect it. And my dad took me in at my old house, and so he was living with his wife at her place, and so I had this whole house to myself, but I had all these responsibilities. And he was annoying, he was frustrating, he was all those things, but he wasn't helping in any other way. It wasn't like, oh, I also got you in this way, like here you are. It was like, got you this place, you could live here. I know it's cold as shit. You don't have a lot of, you don't have a lot of this. It's kind of creepy, creaks at night. Listen, you're going to be okay though. And in that space is where I had to learn how to budget my money. I had to learn how to figure out how to make these bills work, this whole situation, take care of my physical health, take care of my mental health, begin to create more friendships and blah, blah, blah. And that space was, again, what allows us to be able to have some of the conversations and work through the things, because I took or had been put in that space where there wasn't a whole lot of help, you know what I mean? And so I have to value it. Now, if we would have met when I was 22, 23, 24, I would have been like, yo, like give him everything that he wants, whatever he needs, like, yeah, like make it as fun as possible. But because I grew so much in that season, and because it was so painful, like I struggle with being like, thank you, you know what I mean? Because it did suck, but I have to go like, had I not been in that situation, I would still be out here like, yeah, where did that money go? Because, I spent it too, right? So now we been in that situation together. What is credit? I don't need none. Oh, we got to get a house. We in a situation, right? But now it's like, yo, like, no, like I don't be messing with cars like that. I do this, I do that, I do this. We take care of this. He's going to have to do this and that and that. And it's coming from the place of having experienced all that pain. So rather than giving it to him, just in the sense of the discipline stuff, it's like, no, like I just want you to know that you don't need all of this stuff to have a good day, right? The whole mental health spot, right? Right now, a lot of people are, kids, technology, things are just getting increasingly easy. We talked about that this afternoon, to the point where, the littlest things like make them want to shoot up the school. And so it's in a place where it's like, yo, like you got to get to a place where, hey, it's a hard day, it's a hard time, it's a difficult period. We're going through a period right now where it's like everything is just like so many things are falling apart behind the scenes, where it's like, how come everything is so hard? But we have to be strong enough to get through this without hurting each other, hurting other people, going off, creating more problems
And
for
that-
ourselves.
And that's life, right? Like, I feel like we want
Right.
to protect our children from struggle because it's painful and it hurts. And I think that's where it came from. For me, it's like a loving, like, isn't it coming from a loving place to say, I don't want my child to struggle in the ways that I did? But it's kind of this paradox. It's like, well, if you don't struggle, you don't grow and learn. And so it's like you do kind of have to struggle. Like, you can't have everything handed to you. And that's something that I'm having to come to terms with him, is like, I didn't want him to struggle. I'm like, I want to put you in this type of school, and I want you to live in this type of environment, and I don't want you to have to, like,
I think that's
feel
probably the
pain.
biggest issue as a parent, right?
Yeah.
Finding that balance.
Balance.
Because you do want your children to go out there and grow, so they have
Yeah.
to be in uncomfortable situations, but
Mhm.
you also want to be there to support them and help guide them through it.
Yeah.
So next time it comes up, they don't need you as much, right?
Mhm.
They've got
Right.
some skills, they can navigate it on their own. That's like a never-ending
Yeah.
issue.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah.
get any easier the older they get. The problems just get different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Yeah.
I have an adult son, a teenage, my middle child's my oldest daughter, she's a teenager now.
Mm-hmm.
And then my youngest is she'll be 11 in June, right?
Mhm.
So different age groups, different problems, same issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to help you. I don't want to overprotect you because that's going to be a detriment later on. You
Mhm.
look at me to fix everything, right?
Mhm.
I want you to figure this stuff out on your own. I don't want to throw you to the wolves with no support.
Mhm.
Like, how can I navigate this problem?
Yeah.
Right? It's
Right.
tough on us as well.
Right. Right.
I think one of the things that I think we don't address is that struggling is embarrassing.
Mm.
It's embarrassing. Who wants to say, "Oh, I'm struggling right now," whether it's financially, whether it's
Yeah.
emotionally, whether your kids are misbehaving.
Mhm.
Like, nobody wants to tell other people their kids are
Right.
acting up, right?
True.
So struggling, so it's all part of that, like, pride and that ego, and that's one of the things that I forget who said it, but it's like you start to resent certain situations. So you resent the idea of struggling, so you push against it. But resentment is a form of envy. You're envying the fact that you can't maybe do what someone else is doing. You're envying the fact that your kid has, like, this wild free, like, not addressing the dishes in the sink because you have to look at the dishes in the sink. You know they're there. How you sitting on the couch?
Right.
You not mad, I'm
Fine.
mad,
Yeah,
right?
That's the biggest
So,
issue. That's the biggest
it's
issue.
right. So it all comes from that place of, like, when we're struggling, there's a feeling of embarrassment, whether we watch our kids struggle or whether we personally struggle, and that has to do with ego that we have to let die. It's so hard. Like, ego is like the little devil. Like, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when you have your ego, you're struggling, and then you're resenting why you're struggling. So now, like, you're not sad, you're angry and you're envious. Now that's a whole other list of problems right there.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I just think that when we talk about struggling, we have to look at why we have such a aversion to it. Why are we willing to do so much not to do it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
And I super think it's normal. I think what actually makes me helps me to look at it differently, is all the physical fitness stuff that we do. You know what I mean? And all the stuff that has got me, as far as it's got me physically, is, the people I listen to, the David Goggins out there, all of the different motivational speakers who tell you, to push through it, to all that stuff. And it's like, dude, like, I have to be grateful for those voices. And honestly, if I'm most honest, I have to say part of the reason why I listen to them is because I know I can't really hear it if my dad did it, you know what I mean? Because, like, his voice comes with so many more much history and all that stuff. I don't know this dude on YouTube, you know what I mean? So he could tell me, like, get your punk ass up, and I'd be like, you're right, I'm not a bondage. So like, it's a real thing to like, to start looking at struggle as a good thing, you know. But I feel like the earlier that we can start to gear our kids to see. Now, granted, right? There's limitations on it. There's spaces where it's like, okay, don't just like accept abuse now because it's a struggle. But you know, figuring out what struggle you need to embrace and learn how to push through, and help you grow and help you learn more about yourself and your limitations and overcoming yourself. So like one thing we did is last year I did a Spartan race and I did one with him, and it was like, okay, like, you're gonna come with me. You're gonna do one of the kids' ones. We did the Mission Peak Spartans little training thing. Yeah. Right, yeah. And I'm like, dude, like, come on. Like, you know, we're rolling over stuff. And I'm telling him to myself, like, I don't think I can do this stuff. And then after I do it, I'm like, whoa, like, I didn't know. So before you cancel yourself out, you say, you can't do that, or you can't do that. Oh, man, like, that's going to be too hard, and blah, blah, blah. Same thing when we do our hikes on Saturdays. Like, when we go on our hikes, there's a bunch of times where he's like, what, that's how many miles, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, I'll go, are you done? He's like, you know, like, I don't want to get the lesson out of this. Right. But it's like, no, like, you're seeing it. Like, hard things are going to happen, whether it's a mountain or it's a breakup, right? Or it's a subject that you can't, like, seem to grasp, and, like, you're going to struggle with it until the day you die. You have to go, I can do this, and I can overcome challenges and grow. And the last thing is appreciate the challenges. I think that's a whole other level of growth. But until that point, we got to keep putting them in front of you until you can start see how much they help you in the end.
Well, I feel like we took oil
That
tonight.
was a good conversation.
Right.
But I just do want to say, like, as we wrap up, I think one of the biggest things that Ken and I, we've been married for quite some time, is the one gift that we gave to each other and gave to ourselves, like, as a form of self-love, because I believe self-love is in the small details, right? Is giving each other grace, and then allowing ourselves to have grace.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it right. There's no perfect. Like, people are like, oh, wait. We are not your comfortable.
Right.
Don't get caught up on these curated IG photos.
And I don't want that pressure.
Right.
Don't do that. This is your marriage to make and create what you want in it, and keep it that way.
Right.
People are going to be hitting you with a lot of advice, but you guys get to take, leave, do whatever. But at the end of the day, just make sure that you guys are extending grace, because it goes a long way. It goes a long way.
And, you know, I would just say you got to create the union that you're both comfortable with. And that's with whoever's married, right?
Yeah.
You know, I can't tell you how many times I thought I had to live up to expectations from information I heard or assumed or whatever. Come to find out, these people weren't even living up to that, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's like a fantasy. You know, obviously things are going on trending now. We go, man, I thought this was one way. This is totally different.
Right.
That's no names. But so
Right.
at the same time, like, that happens in our day-to-day life too, right? You know, our friends, and we think, man, we got it together. Our relationship doesn't live up to what they're doing, right? You don't know what they're going through, right?
Right.
You just make sure you're comfortable with the decisions that you guys are making day to day.
Right.
That's what I know. For me, I have to bump my head, go through trial and error to kind of come to that. Like, man, why am I worried about everyone else? It's really just about me and her. And our family, right? No matter what decisions we make, it's really about us in our union.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody, because you can never make everyone happy. Somebody's always going to have something to say.
Right.
No matter what you do, somebody's always going to have something to say.
That's
Something
true.
to say, right? So you just got to make sure that you guys are
On one accord.
That's it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of that circle shrinking.
Right.
You are going, as you strengthen your relationship, as you start to prioritize, as you start to determine what's a priority and what's not, your circle will shrink, and it's okay. Let it.
Yeah.
Because when it does expand again, who and what is supposed to be in it will be in it.
Right.
It will be in a perfect accordance to your life. So, yeah. We took y'all time up. Our bad.
No, we appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Yes.
This was dope. We have to put it again.
Yes.
Aside from the cameras, like.
I know.
Right. Yes, all the
And
lights.
more water. Sorry, you guys.
No, it's perfect.
Right.
You know, I definitely think that conversations like this are needed.
Mhm.
A lot of times people don't realize these things until they hit a almost rock bottom. Or
Right.
a huge issue with their relationship, right?
Mhm.
Rather than getting some real advice early so
Mhm.
they can reflect on that when they come up with problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's gotta be perfect. So I guess I
Right.
gotta compartmentalize my disappointment in the situation and not communicate, just go out there and be the man and take over the world, right?
Right, right.
Like that's not how it works.
Right, right.
So
You can't be top flight security.
Right.
The
Right.
world,
The
right?
world. The world. So yes, thank you all again. Thank you
Yes.
for coming. We super appreciate it. We cleaned up a whole lot of dog poop yesterday and swept all kinds of cat stuff. I'm still gonna chase
If
him
y'all, you
when he
better not
leaves.
apologize. You don't even know what our house looks like right now. Don't do it.
Don't worry about it. I wasn't. She hooked up. I'm like, listen, it's all good.
Oh, I did. When I smelled the candles, I was like,
Exactly.
I was like, I don't want it to smell. We were fostering a dog, and
Oh, really?
he went to an adoption fair today. But I was like, him and the cat had a moment yesterday.
I got
Yep.
to it.
The
The cat
yeah,
is happy you go.
the dog got out of his like pen,
Uh-huh.
and it was a puppy, like 5 months old. But the cat's no longer afraid of the dog.
Oh.
So I think the cat was able to establish some
Dominance.
dominance. And we were like, oh, okay. The cat was just walking around, and the dog was just looking at him. We were like, something happened.
Right.
I thought when that cat came down the stairs, that cat is not afraid
No.
to establish
Listen.
anything.
That cat
social.
came down and he walked and he looked up. He's like, what are you doing here?
Right. Who are you?
Like, you didn't check in.
Right.
Right. Wait.
So don't worry about them.
But he's more like he wants attention from like anybody who comes in. Like he.
Yeah, they gotta check in. He's like,
Right.
pet me.
Right. First and
You
Know who
foremost.
I am.
Right. Until I don't want to be pet anymore, and I'll walk away. Right.
Right.
You all have a cat.
We have a cat and 2 dogs.
Oh, okay.
The cat
Right.
thinks it's a dog, so it's a little bad.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
We got a shelter pit so we got the oldest dog first and the kitten.
Uh-huh.
And then we got the youngest dog.
Uh-huh.
So the cat and the dog, the oldest dog are real tight.
Right.
And the cat hates
The
the
little
dog.
Uh-huh.
So it's a word issue in the house.
Interesting. Oh yeah. No, good stuff. Good stuff. Again, we look forward to connecting again. And
Yeah.
my prayer is that this
It's
actually
all
recorded.
worked. The
This
audio
actually
was there.
worked.
Yeah.
You will find out when we are gone.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes.